Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Links are in the description below. Please show some love to the author and me. On to the show.
All with the roar of the first wolf. The second wolf, who was guarding the iceberg lotus, quickly came to the front with the iceberg lotus in its mouth. Then the wolf prostrated himself on the ground, kowtowed and held to the iceberg lotus in the posture of the ice palace. This iceberg lotus flower slowly rotated by itself. In the rotation, it exudes a shining light, and also brings out wisps of dangerous breath. Seeing this scene, Su Lin also didn't expect that this iceberg lotus could be aroused even a little bit of consciousness after detaching from its rhizome. Immediately afterwards, the iceberg lotus flew into the air and then headed towards the alien polar bear at an extremely fast speed. Roar! After seeing this iceberg lotus, the alien polar bear's eyes were full of solemnity. I can tell. The alien polar bear, who has been in this iceberg for a long time, also has a deep fear of the iceberg lotus. Stop! With a scream that pierced the air, the iceberg lotus brought out extremely powerful energy and slammed into the alien polar bear. There was also a hint of fierceness in the polar bear's eyes, and its thick bear paw hit the iceberg lotus. Pung! There was a fierce impact sound, and a deep was cut in the thick paw of the polar bear, but the fluorescence on the iceberg lotus also dimmed a bit. Taking advantage of this time, many Kenny Mountain wolves also cooperated with the iceberg lotus, again to attack the alien polar bear. All roar! The howling of wolves and the howling of bears also sounded again. The meaning of killing is permeated in the huge iceberg cave. The polar bears of different species were overwhelmed, and several wounds were added to the huge bear body. But soon, it saw that these wolves cared about the female werewolves trampled under their feet. Immediately, he hooked up the female werewolf with its claws as a shield, and the attacks of many Kenny Mountain wolves were delayed a lot. The IQ of the heterogeneous polar bear is not inferior to that of a teenage human, and it also possesses the cunning and ferocity of a wild beast. It has no sympathy for the female werewolves on the claws, and it abuses and waving more wantonly to stop the wolves. It's just that this female werewolf's vitality is very tenacious. Even after being swung around a dozen times, her body still hits the ice surface from time to time. It was still just blood gushing from his mouth and nose, and he was not dead yet, and there was still a radiant look in his pale blue eyes. Roar! This made the polar bears of different species ravage the female werewolf even more recklessly. The other thick bear paw sometimes fights with Bingshan Leon for shopping, and sometimes sends a group of wolves flying tens of meters away. The two sides fought for more than an hour. The shattered ice collapsed into the air, blood splashed. In the huge iceberg cave, hundreds of meters in radius were destroyed by this alien polar bear and several Kenny Mountain wolves. As for the battles in other directions, the curtain has basically come to an end. The Kenny Mountain wolves won decisively, but each was left with wounds. 5 alien lynxes were forced to gather together, bared their fangs, and confronted more than a dozen Kenny Mountain wolves. 2 ordinary polar bears have already fallen on the ice. His body was bitten and there were wounds everywhere, and it seemed that he could not survive. The Kenny Mountain wolves that besieged 2 ordinary polar bears also joined the sequence of besieging alien polar bears. It's just that this alien polar bear is too powerful. Even with the group healing talent of the alpha wolf, he was still seriously injured after a battle, and that alien polar bear also had more than a dozen horrific wounds, and the blood dripped down on the iceberg's ground, staining the ice surface red. Its talent for blood rage has also receded, but it is still the strongest present. With the female werewolf in its hand as a shield, many Kenny Mountain wolves are afraid to attack. Even the ferocious alpha wolf was seriously injured by it. Roar! It gave a long roar, declaring its tyrannical invincible arrogance. Then he picked up the iceberg lotus that had fallen on the ice without any fluorescence. The disappearance of the fluorescence represents the last trace of consciousness of the iceberg lotus, and it has completely dissipated. Today's iceberg lotus has only the purest energy left. But this pure energy is what it has. This made the dark eyes of the alien polar bear bring out a surprise. Originally, he came to the cave to hunt down some werewolves who were looking for pieces of ice withering, but he didn't expect to have such a heaven-defying harvest. As long as this iceberg lotus is devoured, at least its strength can be increased by a large amount. Even if 2 of his subordinates died here, it would still make a lot of money. After picking up the iceberg lotus, the arrogance emanating from the heterogeneous polar bear became even stronger. It raised its head and glanced around the many Kenny Mountain wolves and the 5 alien lynxes, who were still about to move. A pair of eyes were full of ferocity, and they roared again and again, warning and threatening. In fact, many hunters gathered in the iceberg cave today, just for the ice-withered fragments. The Kenny Mountain wolves are there to collect ice-wither shards, and the bears are there to stop the wolves from collecting. The two of them have been fighting in this iceberg for a long time. As for the 5 alien lynxes, they are just predators who want to get some benefits from the iceberg, and devour a few werewolves to fill their stomachs. But the biggest advantage now is the iceberg lotus. This kind of purest energy flower is the existence that makes all alien species, and even intelligent creatures go crazy. Therefore, they were all staring at this alien polar bear, and their mouths were drooling uncontrollably. But this polar bear is too strong. Whether it is blood value, or defense and attack power, they are beyond their reach. In the end, they could only suppress their thoughts of wanting to plunder in the bottom of their hearts. And many Kini mountain wolves also suffered a lot of trauma. Even the alien wolf king, who was the main force, was hit the back by the polar bear's paw. The spine on the back was sunken, which made it difficult for the alien wolf king to straighten his waist, and the corners of his mouth were dripping with blood. But it is not reconciled to seeing the iceberg lotus flower that he bought with ice-withered fragments, just like that being snatched away by a polar bear. Many Kini mountain wolves howled crazily at the alien polar bears. However, this howling didn't irritate the polar bear. On the contrary, it also made a long roar, and its arrogance became even more arrogant, because the polar bear, who has a lot of wisdom, knows that if this group of Kini mountain wolves can fight back when they are dying, they will definitely not just howl crazily. But at this time, when the heterogeneous polar bears are wantonly venting their arrogance, whoosh, a loud roar cut through the air, causing the hairs of many hunters with extremely keen hearing to explode. The roar was so loud that it even brought out the effect of a sonic boom. A sonic boom cloud suddenly appeared in the huge cave due to the extremely fast speed. Just when many hunters noticed this sonic boom cloud, Surin has already rushed towards this alien polar bear. His eyes were filled with an incomparably fierce scarlet color. This time, Su Lin didn't hesitate at all, and activated his hunting talent immediately, because he had to hunt and kill this alien polar bear directly in the shortest possible time. Then, with the help of the remaining prestige of hunting talent, wash out of this weird iceberg. He has stared at this iceberg lotus for a long time. If this polar bear wants to take it, we have to see if its life is tough. Now that a huge sonic boom had already occurred, Su Lin didn't hide his existence. An earth-shattering howl of wolves exploded like thunder in the huge iceberg cave. Almost in the blink of an eye, his figure came to this alien polar bear. Not to mention that Su Lin is still invisible now, with no breath at all. Even if he appeared here above board, this alien polar bear would not be able to react. With a charging speed of more than 300 meters per second, Su Lin directly slapped the chest of this alien polar bear fiercely. Now that Surin's right claw has been strengthened, after turning on the hunting talent, his full blow has reached a power value close to 900. Such terrifying attack power and lethality are beyond the limits of what this alien polar bear can bear. This blow caused the huge polar bear, which was still full of arrogance just now, to have a body of more than 6 meters, and its front chest collapsed directly, as if being hit by a heavy hammer. The huge bear body weighing 3 to 4 tons was also thrown tens of meters away by the impact of the blow. Along the way, all the hanging icicles encountered shattered. The heart on the chest of the heterogeneous polar bear was hit by Su Lin, causing several cracks. It flew backwards in midair, and blood was overflowing from its mouth. Those pitch-black eyes, that were originally full of arrogance, were filled with panic. So traumatized, yet it doesn't even feel where the attacker is. But just before it landed, its very sensitive sense of smell finally smelled the tyrannical and murderous aura coming to its face again. It was another fierce blow, and Su Lin's wolf claws, which were as sharp as a blade, stabbed directly from the back of the alien polar bear to its chest. That heart, which had several cracks in it, was torn to pieces by Surin's wolf claws like a huge flat peach. Roar! The already fatal pain made this alien polar bear howl miserably and struggle desperately. Even the female werewolf and iceberg lotus, which were tightly hooked in the bear's paw, were released directly and let them fall to the ground. This female werewolf was still alive when she was tortured by a different species of polar bear for more than an hour. Her pale blue eyes looked at Su Lin, who was hunting the polar bear with the only remaining expression, showing a hint of gratitude. Su Lin didn't lose his talent for concealment, but the wolf's claws and body were stained with a lot of blood, revealing his position. Su Lin, who was fighting fiercely at this time, didn't notice the female werewolf at all. His wolf eyes just stared at the iceberg lotus, and the wolf mouth directly bit the falling iceberg lotus in his mouth. The heart of this heterogeneous polar bear was torn apart by Su Lin, but it still didn't die. In the dying struggle, his strength has almost reached the state of blood rage. Roar! The eyes of the heterogeneous polar bear are full of ferocity. It can feel that it is going to die, and it has to fight to the death. But before it turned around the huge bear body, the sharp wolf claws swept across its body, bringing out several organs and many blood vessels in its chest. Tear. From the inside to the outside, a small half of the front chest was torn off in an instant. Numerous organs and bones were exposed in the cold air. Roar. Feeling the severe pain, the polar bear finally turned around, roaring like a ghost. A pair of thick bear paws smashed fiercely at the blood-stained air. Pung! The wolf's claws and bear's paws collided together, and the dull sound brought out by the powerful impact echoed in the cave. This polar bear, who has always been fearless of any species in terms of strength, has finally been defeated in the field of strength. This blow directly shattered its bear paw and forelimb bones, and the sharp claws with blood, before it could react, stabbed directly into its chest again. Tear. From top to bottom, this time it was directly torn on the spot and raw. Besides, Su Lin has also seen the essence bear gall that exudes strong fluorescence. This is the 21st level heterogeneous essence part. He directly plucked the bear bile from the body of the not yet completely dead polar bear with another paw, and plucked it off. Roar. The pain from the direct harvesting of the essence made the polar bear, which was still connected except the neck and head, couldn't help but roar miserably again, but this roar was extremely weak, and it had already lost the power it had just now. Pung! Su Lin gave this heterogeneous polar bear another paw. One claw all head. The sharp wolf claws completely cut the polar bear's neck. In an instant, blood splattered, and the strong smell of blood came instantly. 5 xenogenic lynx is full of murderousness and ferocity. At this moment, all of them tucked their tails, because the ghost-like hunter hidden in the air suddenly exuded wild killing intent several times more than them. If it is said that they are excellent hunters, then this is the Asura who really came out of the mountain of corpses and the sea of blood step by step. At this time, after Su Lin swallowed the bear gall, 2 light gray message reminders appeared in front of his eyes. Ding! Congratulations to the host for gaining 4,000 evolutionary points by eating the bile of a heterogeneous polar bear at level 21. Ding! Congratulations to the host for consuming the residual talent essence of a heterogeneous polar bear and purifying a talent serum. And he just glanced at it, and before he had time to rejoice, he gave another long roar, ready to rush out of the iceberg. Now in order to the iceberg lotus, he has revealed his figure. Once the group of Kuni mountain wolves passed the news to the huge iceberg lotus in the ice palace, it would be very difficult for him to break out of the iceberg. There must be another way out of this iceberg, but there are definitely other potential dangers. Now that he got the iceberg lotus, he doesn't plan to stay for long. There are still 50 seconds left for the hunting talent. This made Su Lin let out a long howl again, and the howling of the wolf brought out the ferocious arrogance of gods blocking and killing gods, and Buddhas blocking and killing Buddhas. It was also this howling of wolves that made the 5 alien lynx tremble slightly in awe. And the wolves of Mount Kuni, who had some thoughts, instantly gave up all their thoughts. After Su Lin shouted, he quickly returned the same way and rushed out. As for this huge alien polar bear carcass, it can only be cheap for the group of Kuni mountain wolves and alien lynxes. Boom! During the Surin return, the huge sonic boom roared again. The sonic boom cloud also suddenly appeared in the huge iceberg cave. Such a fast speed exceeded the imagination of all Kuni mountain wolves and xenogenic lynxes. They looked at the mysterious hunter, who came and disappeared suddenly, and they all looked at each other in blank dismay. They all knew clearly through the howling of wolves, it was a wolf clan. An invincible wolf clan so powerful that it could tear apart a polar bear of a different species in just 1 minute. Su Lin has activated his hunting talent, and his own strength is at a peak state. With a speed of more than 300 meters per second, it also has a strength value of up to 900. With such strength, even in the face of heavy encirclement and suppression by human beings, he should be able to break through the encirclement. Even in this mysterious iceberg, his strength is crushing for other hunters. This group of Kuni mountain wolves, lynxes and bears, Su Lin has seen all their numerical attributes. It was found that the highest one was the alien polar bear hunted by him, with attributes as high as level 21. The rest of the alien species are all below level 20. This kind of strength is indeed stronger than the outside world, but it is also limited. It can be seen that these alien species in the iceberg should be catalyzed by pure energy, far from the strong growth potential of the alien species outside, otherwise they should not be at this level. However, Su Lin was still envious of these Kuni mountain wolves, because of its powerful genetic blood power. Once it becomes a heterogeneous species, it will be a heterogeneous species above level 10. If he has such a group of wolves under his command, then there will be few opponents in the entire North Pole. At this time, while Su Lin was running at full speed, the sonic boom cloud also exploded in the caves and corridors. He was stained with the blood of many different kinds of polar bears, so he didn't have the preparation to hide the two huge iceberg lotuses rush over. Su Lin has confidence in his current strength. The two huge iceberg lotus plants were two iceberg lotus plants of more than 40 levels, and they should have 1/3 of the strength of the 60-odd king squid. But the two giant iceberg lotuses obviously couldn't move on their own. Otherwise, they wouldn't need to expend energy to cultivate the nation wolf pack, and just go to the cave to hunt polar bears, and search for ice-withered fragments. The numerical panels of exotic flowers and plants are often very simple. Therefore, Su Lin can only guess about the strength of the two huge iceberg lotuses. 1/3 of the strength of the king squid means that it is only about 1,000 points of strength. Su Lin still has the confidence to deal with it. When he first came in, his movements were very light. With the talent of concealment turned on, there was not even the slightest trace left on the ground of the iceberg, and she successfully concealed it from the iceberg lotus. This time he rushed out, galloping at full speed, accompanied by a huge sonic boom. Su Lin, who was running wildly now, jumped to the 300 meters, and every time the wolf claws landed, they would step on cracks on the thick iceberg ground. Such a huge movement has already caused the two huge iceberg lotuses to emit a very rich and holy white light, which almost instantly enveloped the entire ice palace. In addition, other exotic flowers and plants also seemed to wake up from a deep sleep, and they all exuded a dangerous atmosphere hum. With a slight vibration, a huge petal of the iceberg lotus fell off from the iceberg lotus. The petals of this iceberg lotus, like a ray of white light, shot towards Su Lin, who appeared with a huge sonic boom. Su Lin's scarlet eyes saw the white light petals. Without entanglement, he dodged sideways at a very fast speed. But the petals of this iceberg lotus are much more difficult to deal with than the iceberg lotus encountered at the bottom of the iceberg gap last time. This petal seems to have locked Su Lin. After hitting the air, it turned around again, turning back towards him again. In just a short moment, Su Lin was about to rush to the entrance of the passage in the ice palace. It's just that he can feel that the ice palace has been sealed by the holy fluorescence emitted by the iceberg lotus. This forced Su Lin to turn around and deal with the iceberg lotus petals first. Without the slightest sloppiness, coming up is a full blow. The sharp wolf claws popped out completely and collided violently with the white petals that were shooting towards him. When this impact didn't sound like flesh and blood colliding, but rather like the sound of gold and iron intersecting. The sharp wolf claws and white petals brought out terrifying energy fluctuations in the violent collision. Pung! Su Lin's strength value was as high as 900, but he was still no match for the white petal after all, and the huge wolf clan was shaken and flew upside down. With the help of the powerful anti-shock force, Su Lin did not adjust his body shape. Instead, it flew directly backwards to the white fluorescent barrier at the entrance of the passage, and the fierce aura in the eyes also increased again. He mobilized all the strength in his body to the peak, and smashed the white fluorescent barrier with his invincible wolf claws. Pung! It was another huge impact and roar. The sharp wolf claws smashed several cracks into the white fluorescent barrier this time, but failed to break through completely. And these cracks are still recovering at an extremely fast speed. This made Su Lin grit his teeth and strike with all his strength. Crash! 2 full blows hit one point of the white fluorescent barrier, and finally broke through the white barrier. The white barrier suddenly broke a huge gap. It's just that Su Lin was also pierced directly from the side and back by the iceberg lotus petals that followed. Pung! Bring out a splatter of blood. Su Lin expended his physical strength to activate the healing talent, suppressing the severe pain while recovering from the injury. Then, while the huge gap has not recovered, the speed value as high as more than 300 is activated at full speed. Rush out from the gap. After rushing out, I gave up the idea of using the recovery potion. The recovery potion is also Su Lin's trump card. With a terrifying healing talent, it can be said that as long as Su Lin's physical strength is not exhausted, it will be difficult for him to fall. Therefore, I originally planned to use the recovery potion to entangle with this huge iceberg lotus for a while. It's just that I didn't expect that this white fluorescent barrier would be shattered into blows. At this time, Su Lin still has a few seconds left in his hunting talent. He didn't waste any time. He was galloping at full speed, and there were bursts of sonic booms. The extremely fast speed drove a lot of broken ice in the iceberg into the air. But what Su Lin never expected was that the petals of the huge iceberg lotus behind him also flew out. This iceberg lotus petal is much stronger than the one at the bottom of the iceberg gap last time. Even though he had already hit himself, there was still tyrannical pure energy fluctuations ever. The speed was extremely fast, and the holy light suddenly appeared, attacking him again. Su Lin didn't have time to dodge, and was pierced by the huge iceberg lotus petal again, and several ribs were shattered. A huge flower of blood spattered from the wolf's body again, and Su Lin, who was running at full speed, finally managed to break out of the iceberg in just a few seconds. Pung! The sound of a crash. After Su Lin landed, there were bursts of ice and snow. Feeling the severe pain from the wolf's body, he stared fiercely at the petals of the iceberg lotus. Obviously, after the petal came out of the iceberg, the white fluorescence dimmed a lot. Sure enough, there are still restrictions. Maybe it's because you can't leave the body for too long, or maybe the power of leaving the iceberg will drop sharply. But now Su Lin's hunting talent has also faded. The two sides are just in a balance. In his pair of golden brown wolf eyes, there was a flash of eagerness to try. Now that it's out, let's try to see if I can keep the petals of the iceberg lotus. If you come to this weird iceberg, you will naturally gain more and less. Anyway, in a short time, Su Lin doesn't plan to come again. The dangerous atmosphere permeated in this iceberg made him feel heartbroken. When do you have a higher level of strength? And then explore this iceberg. Because the many exotic flowers and plants in the ice palace made Su Lin extremely greedy. The pure energy contained in exotic flowers and herbs far surpasses that of different species of flesh and blood, and can even greatly promote the growth of the genetic level. After Su Lin successfully transformed the genetic level last time, he gained many powerful hidden combat powers. It's hard to imagine what kind of astonishing transformation will happen if these exotic flowers and plants are swallowed. Staring at the huge iceberg lotus petals more than 1 foot long, Su Lin's sharp wolf claws collided with the iceberg lotus petals again. Pung! The sound of gold and iron resounded in the cold air again. It's just that this time the iceberg lotus petals no longer have an overwhelming advantage over Su Lin. Instead, both sides took a few steps backwards. Sure enough, it's much weaker. There was a gleam in Su Lin's eyes. Perhaps this iceberg lotus petal also sensed its own weakness and wanted to return to the iceberg. But Su Lin moved at full speed. His limbs jumped up on the ice and snow ground, stepping out of a deep snow pit. With a height of 17 or 18 meters in one leap, he caught up with the petals of the iceberg lotus. The sharp wolf claws with the speed bonus of flying directly hit the petals of this iceberg lotus. Su Lin's claw stabbed through a corner of the iceberg lotus petal. Can be seen that the petals of the iceberg lotus have weakened too much. At this moment, he hooked this corner tightly and never let go. And this sudden and fierce attack also made the fluorescence on the iceberg lotus petals flicker. The iceberg lotus petals in mid-air became unstable, and after a moment of stalemate, they finally wobbled and fell downwards. Boom! Both sides fell to the ground with a bang. Su Lin's claws still hooked tightly to the corner of the iceberg lotus petal, and then got entangled again. The fluorescence emitted by the petals of the iceberg lotus dragged Su Lin's huge wolf body for hundreds of meters, but it never got rid of him. Instead, Su Lin's wolf eyes were fierce, and he let go of the iceberg lotus in the wolf's mouth first. Then the fangs showed their sharpness, and directly bit the iceberg lotus petals fiercely. Katsa! There was a loud bang. Su Lin finally bit out several cracks from the petals of the iceberg lotus, and this iceberg lotus petal was still struggling desperately in the mouth of Surin Wolf. But soon a tyrannical devouring force erupted suddenly. Under this powerful devouring force, all the struggles of this iceberg lotus petal became futile. Soon a corner of the iceberg lotus petal was devoured, turning into a huge stream of pure energy and pouring into the body. The fluorescence on the entire iceberg lotus has also completely dissipated. Ding! Congratulations to the host for eating the different flowered iceberg lotus and gaining an evolutionary value of 4,500. Ding! The host eats species far beyond its own level and gains 2,000 evolution points. This rolling energy has been converted into a full 6,500 evolution points. This made Su Lin reach the verge of breaking through level 14. Haha! These iceberg lotus petals are really extraordinary. At this time, Su Lin looked at the iceberg lotus petals that he had swallowed, and found that he only swallowed less than 1/30th of them. It can be seen that this piece of iceberg lotus petals can at least provide him with tens of thousands of evolutionary points. It's not in vain that I have expended so much effort to leave this piece of iceberg lotus petals behind. Call. Su Lin couldn't help letting out a long breath. Next, he didn't directly eat the iceberg lotus petals in the ice and snow. After all, this place is in the wild. Although the species here are rare, Su Lin did not let down his vigilance. Holding the iceberg lotus petals, and the iceberg lotus that just loosened in its mouth, it is ready to take it back to the ice cave. The wound on Surin Wolf's body was corroded by traces of icy cold air. This icy air raged at the wound, preventing the wound from healing. But under the powerful healing talent, this icy air was gradually dispelled. After a while, Su Lin returned to the ice cave with the iceberg lotus and the huge iceberg lotus petal. After returning, Su Lin glanced at the giant squid tentacles that still had dozens of caddies left. He was going to take a temporary rest in the ice cave for a few days, waiting for the food to be eaten. Presumably, his strength would also improve by leaps and bounds. At that time, rely on the compass returned by Shun. Go out of this area and try to have a look. After all, the compass will only fail near the pole center. As long as you walk out of the pole center, you can still discern the direction. While Su Lin was thinking, he was also preparing to eat iceberg lotus again. But at this time, in the territory of the once large wolf pack, a little lone wolf with gray-purple hair is leading the pack of wolves, standing on a snow slope. Looking at this ice and snow land, its pale blue wolf eyes not only possessed a ferocious killing intent, but also a trace of calmness. In these days of killing, the little lone wolf officially stands alone. Its ferocity and murderous nature are also clearly revealed. But in this area, there are also many difficult opponents. With a deeply hidden level 9 alien lynx, the little lone wolf led the pack of wolves to hunt several times, but still failed to capture it. And the remaining wolves of that large wolf pack are still holding on to their territory, and there are about 50 or so in number. In addition, it is worth noting that there are several polar bears in this area, and they all have considerable strength. These are the general hunters in this territory at present. For the rest of the hunters, the little lone wolf has already led his pack of wolves to level them off. The wolves under his command have also increased to more than 40 in the past few days. Blood and killing filled the area. The ferocious and murderous nature of the little lone wolf has once again been tempered to the fullest. With each killing, the strength of the little lone wolf is also increasing rapidly. In just a few days, with the different flesh and blood rewarded by Su Lin, he successfully advanced to level 7. A little lone wolf with a level 7 alien strength can hunt large prey alone, and even suppress small packs of less than 10 wolves. With the killings and the improvement of strength, the little lone wolf's prestige among the wolves is also growing. But the little lone wolf has never forgotten his position, and has always regarded himself as the second wolf among the wolves. And these days, it also sent 2 wolves under its command back to the cave to report the results of this conquest. The whole wolf pack is naturally also happily waiting for the reward from the Wolf King. After all, they have captured 2/3 of this large wolf pack's territory, and they are about to unify this area. Such a large-scale territorial expansion is definitely a huge contribution among wolves. What the little lone wolf doesn't know is that this reward may be delayed for a long time. At this time, the little lone wolf looked at the Nuoda territory he had laid down, standing on the snowy slope, looking up to the sky and howling. All the wolves under his command immediately followed the little lone wolf, and began to howl wildly under the extreme daylight. The sound of howling wolves reverberated in this icy and snowy land. After howling for a long time, the little lone wolf led his pack of wolves again, and started a new round of conquest. This territory, since the Wolf King has spoken, must be in the pocket of the wolves. Any hunter who dares to provoke will fall under the conquest and hunting of wolves. Accompanied by the long howls of the wolves, the little lone wolf set his sights on the alien lynx again. This alien lynx is powerful, with strong lurking ability and hunting ability. If left alone, not only will the prey on the territory suffer a great loss, but it will also bring great safety hazards to the wolves. Therefore, this alien lynx must be killed. The little lone wolf's eyes are full of killing intent. Now it has more than 40 wolves under its command, and its momentum can be called huge. The little lone wolf led the wolf pack, and the beasts and birds scattered wherever they passed. Even the few polar bears on the ice, looking at the hula just stood in their caves, and did not provoke them. After all, for a pack of wolves of this size, hunting alone was enough to drag them down. At this time, the wolves roaring past had once again locked on the position of the alien lynx. The little lone wolf decided that even if he had to pay some price this time, he had to completely exterminate this alien lynx. Otherwise, as time goes by, this alien lynx will be more and more threatened by wolves. And at this time, the cousin and Xiaohui, who were still in the original territory, also began to silently recruit some wandering lone wolves on the periphery of the territory. Because the cousin and Xiaohui felt a little uneasy after searching for several days, but still failed to find Su Lin expand the wolf pack. On the one hand, it is to protect the territory of the current wolves. On the other hand, you have to have some self-preservation. Otherwise, if Su Lin isn't here, if the little lone wolf really has second thoughts, even if the wolf father leads the wolves to come, he may not be able to stop the little lone wolf. After all, the ferocious combat power of the little lone wolf is obvious to all. The wolves in the cave now are dominated by the cousin for the time being. Although the cousin is just an ordinary species, and has not yet evolved into a heterogeneous species. Her IQ is not too high. But with Xiao Hui's assistance, the expansion in the past few days has been relatively smooth. 4 female wolves and 2 level 5 male wolves were recruited. The female wolf was assigned to the inspection team under the cousin's command. As for the 2 male wolves, they followed little Hui, taking on the main task of guarding the wolf pack and driving away hunters. The alien flesh and blood in the cave, the cousin only continued to distribute to Xiao Wei, Xiao Bai, Wolf Sister and Gray and White Wolf according to the share that Su Lin had allocated in the past. Their strength is also improving day by day, especially Xiao Bai, who has a faint tendency to break through to level 4. Xiao Bai at level 4, I am afraid that even an ordinary Arctic wolf at the peak of level 5 has the power to fight. As a polar bear cub, Xiao Bai's growth potential and growth speed are terrifying. The 10 female wolves under the cousin's command still let them patrol the territory every day, just to look for traces of the Wolf King. The scope of the search has also expanded to a radius of 500 or 600 miles. But there is no news of Su Lin yet. Time passed slowly, and another 20 days passed by in a flash. The area near the pole center of the North Pole took the lead in changing from polar day to polar night. Every 6 months, Jixin will face a transition from darkness to light. The dark night fell on the Arctic ice field again, making the already silent Arctic center even more dead silent. Except for the occasional howling cold wind, there was no sound at all. The temperature also dropped from -60 to 70 degrees to -100 degrees. This temperature surpassed the highest in previous history. But for Su Lin, who is extremely cold tolerant, the forest coldness of -100 degrees didn't affect him at all. In the ice cave these days, he has already eaten the tentacles of the king squid and the petals of the iceberg lotus. Even for that iceberg lotus, Su Lin ate only 3 petals left. Added together, a total of about 170,000 evolutionary points were provided to Su Lin. This made Su Lin go up to level 2 in one go, directly breaking through to level 14. The difficulty of Su Lin's promotion is far more than that of other species, but the increase in strength he obtained through promotion is not comparable to that of other species. With his current combat strength, he can easily hunt and kill alien species around level 20. Name, Su Lin. Species, Arctic wolf. Gene level, I. Level 14. Upgrading requires 160,000 evolution points. Vitality, 4,100. Stamina, 350. Strength, 380. Defense, 360. Speed, 570. Evolution value, 91,500. Talent, hunting C level, concealment B level, healing A level. The improvement that Su Lin gets every time he upgrades is very significant. He was promoted to 2 levels in a row, which raised his strength to a brand new height. Now his hair and flesh defenses have reached a terrifying level. It is several times larger than ordinary polar bears. The thick, white and flawless hair fluttered under the cold wind, blowing from the entrance of the ice cave. Surin can control this thick hair as he likes. In the face of danger and attacks, he can become very tenacious. Even an attack with several tons of strength can hardly break through Su Lin's defense. Su Lin's body size has also grown to nearly 6 meters. If the wolf's tail is included, it will reach more than 8 meters. 8 meters of wolves. This size is a well-deserved monster. Today's Su Lin, if he encounters a large pack of wolves, with 100 or 200 wolves, he can easily kill the wolf pack to the point of bloodshed. With his current strength and size, ordinary wolves can't interfere with him at all. As for Su Lin's speed, the extra attribute value given by 2 consecutive upgrades was also added to the speed, makes the speed value reach a staggering 570. Supersonic. Really supersonic. This increase in strength can be said to be huge. But Su Lin still didn't explore the iceberg again. After all, the heart-stopping power in the mysterious iceberg is very deep. He doesn't plan to visit again for a short time. However, Su Lin still walked around the periphery of the iceberg in the past few days, wanting to squat and watch to see if there were any hunters who ran out, because he still couldn't forget the flesh and blood of that alien polar bear. After all, that alien polar bear weighed a full 3 tons, and that was 6,000 to 7,000 caddies of alien flesh. With so many different kinds of flesh and blood, even if you swallow it yourself, you can get at least 30,000 to 40,000 evolution points. So he decided to see if there were any other entrances and exits in this mysterious iceberg. However, the hunter did not squat to guard, but squatted to guard 2 werewolves. The werewolf is very weak, and even the IQ is only the IQ of ordinary wolves, and there is no discernment at all. In addition, werewolves also have a natural trust in the wolf clan. After seeing Su Lin's huge 8-meter-long wolf body, immediately knelt on the ground and worshipped. This made Su Lin who was originally filled with Senhen's killing intent, weakened a lot for a while, and just walked up to the werewolf and asked about the current situation in the iceberg cave. The werewolf's communication language is also wolf howling, although it can only express some brief meanings. Su Lin can still understand it roughly in the intermittent low howl of the werewolf. He roughly learned that after the other end, toward the alien polar bear alive, the forces of hunters from all sides in the iceberg cave were shocked. In today's iceberg cave, 7 or 8 packs of Kani Mountain wolves have gathered in just a few days. There are 7 or 8 Kani Mountain wolf packs, which means that there are at least 7 or 8 alien wolf packs, and the number of bears has also increased to 17 or 8. In addition, a group of Arctic silver foxes with a size of 2 or 3 meters also appeared. The 3 parties are facing each other in the huge iceberg cave. This made Su Lin know that the water in this mysterious iceberg was very muddy. I am afraid that apart from the 2 huge iceberg lotus, there are at least 2 forces that are not inferior to the iceberg lotus. Finally, the idea of dragging the xenomorph polar bear was abandoned, but Su Lin stood at the entrance of the ice cave, his wolf eyes still looking at the huge and towering iceberg in the distance. Sooner or later, he will come to explore this mysterious iceberg again. After all, there are too many exotic flowers and plants here, all of which are the pure energy he needs on the way of evolution. But now, Surin has been away from her wolf pack for about a month. It's time to go back. Originally chased and killed by the king squid to the very center of the North Pole, but he also gained nearly 200,000 evolution points here. It was a worthwhile trip. After returning, Su Lin decided to cultivate a pack of wolves that could really fight well. After all, the world has changed drastically, and there is no telling what will happen in the future. Even I couldn't protect Xiao Hui, wolf sister and cousin, all the time. If it is your own wolf pack, you also have the Kani Mountain wolf pack, which has a strong combat power. That is not only more than self-protection, but also can provide Su Lin with a lot of help. At this time, Su Lin walked out of the ice cave with the remaining 3 iceberg lotus petals in his mouth. Su Lin has a pair of golden-brown wolf eyes with a powerful night vision function. Even under the polar night, you can see very far. At this time, from the steep ice wall, he began to leap downwards with one leap. Su Lin, who was already very fast, only took a few seconds to get down from the ice cave after his speed value increased to 570 points. Pung! The thick wolf claws stepped on the ground, bringing up waves of snow and ice. The pure energy contained in this iceberg lotus, after exploring these days by Su Lin, found that it also has a lot of life essence. So he didn't devour it all. Instead, 3 pieces were left, which may be used in the future. I have a healing talent, and I am not afraid of any injuries. But the wolf father, mother wolf and cousin wolf sister did not. After getting along for more than a year, Su Lin also valued this blood relationship, so save these 3 slices for emergencies. Su Lin took the iceberg lotus in his mouth and started to march towards the route he had already planned. The compass is ineffective in the polar center area, but it gradually recovers its effect when it is out of the polar center. The compass brought out from the iceberg is a very precise compass with high latitude and longitude. For this kind of compass, let alone a beast, even ordinary humans can't understand it. But Su Lin was fond of adventure in his previous life, so he naturally bought a lot of compasses and compasses. For this kind of compass produced in the last century, it is naturally clear at a glance. After confirming the direction of his pack of wolves, Surin began to turn back. It has been a month since he left the wolf pack. I don't know if the little lone wolf has cleared the territory of the large wolf pack, and I don't know if the wolf father and wolf mother have gained another strength boost after devouring the flesh and blood of those alien species. In an increasingly cruel natural environment, only strength is the source of better survival. The weak eat the strong. Without strength in the cruel nature, it will eventually become the blood of other hunters. While Su Lin was thinking, he also quickly interspersed under the polar night, and just as the polar night began to gradually fall, every area of the North Pole, in the northern border of Siberia, Russia, in a huge human fortress, the terrifying cold snap that has been sweeping through for several months has caused unprecedented shocks to many cities in the northern border of Siberia, Russia. In the end, countless human beings gathered in this human fortress in order to avoid natural disasters. For a while, the fortress was overcrowded, gathering tens of millions of humans who had escaped from natural disasters. After tens of millions of human beings entered the human fortress, they gradually regained their confidence from the uneasiness at the beginning, because here, they witnessed the most cutting-edge technology and the most peak combat power of mankind. There are 6th-generation invincible fighters, steel tanks made of the most advanced alloys, and elite fighters armed to the teeth wearing various black technologies. In addition, they also saw the fourth generation of high-tech artificial intelligence, advanced drones, and various technologies that are unimaginable in daily life. This made all the residents who came to take refuge filled their hearts with a belief that human beings must win. As for the great evolution of species, announced by the Alliance of Sciences, the dominance of human beings on the Earth is likely to be weakened, and it is regarded as by many human beings. Humans possess such peak technology. How could they lose? How can a mere mutated species rival the most advanced technological killer of mankind? Today, the human fortress is even more cheering because the terrible cold outside the fortress finally receded, and the elite soldiers guarding the fortress are also fully armed to accept the review of many people in power. They are about to walk out of the fortress and eliminate the potential dangers outside to restore a peaceful and stable beautiful homeland for mankind. At this moment, all the soldiers did not show any slack, and all had solemn expressions on their faces. Standing at the forefront, there are hundreds of people wearing General Star epaulets. Line up. The momentum is particularly majestic. There are also hundreds of new humans, who have unlocked the genetic shackles, carrying terrifying individual combat weapons, standing silently on both sides of the huge podium. Now there is no one on the huge podium, but before everyone had to wait long, a white man in his 50s, wearing a suit, appeared on the huge podium. He is the #1 person in this human fortress. His gaze swept across the many elite fighters. Even though he didn't wear a military uniform today, his aura still hasn't diminished in the slightest. That pair of pitch-black eyes scanned the hundreds of people, wearing General Star epaulets at the front of the audience, and then picked up the microphone in his hand and said, "The terrifying cold weather and natural disasters are gradually dissipating. The Science Alliance says that the future may be dominated by giant beasts and mutant creatures. But I don't agree, and I don't think everyone will agree either, because as long as human beings are still alive, then human beings will definitely be the masters of this vast land. Human beings may decline and perish one day, but definitely not this day. So I want to ask all the soldiers, do you dare to fight on behalf of mankind?" These words reached the ears of every soldier under inspection through the microphone and holographic image. For a moment, every soldier had a strong fighting spirit in his eyes, burning like crazy. Wow! The huge slogan sounded in the human fortress. It made countless people in the fortress feel deafening, because these big figures at the pinnacle of power are more aware of the results of several hunts that have been carried out around the world than ordinary people. Among them, India dispatched heavy troops to encircle and suppress the bloodthirsty python, and suffered a disastrous defeat. The powerful scale defense and extremely tenacious vitality of the bloodthirsty python made all those in power of the big forces horrified during that siege. Tens of thousands of people, in full armor, were killed until their blood flowed like rivers. Then the bloodthirsty python led the snakes under his command to kill, and several cities were used as hotbeds by the snakes, a scene of purgatory on Earth. There are also more than 30 new human beings, from Manhwa Kingdom leading a team, followed by a heavy armored brigade, going to the tropical rainforest to kill the giant human skin tree in one fell swoop and adopting genes. But after entering the tropical rainforest, all communication equipment completely failed, and there has been no news so far. Besides, there is a deep-sea alliance composed of major forces, and more than 10 nuclear-powered submarines have been dispatched. Go into the deep sea to hunt down mysterious sea monsters, but the whole army is wiped out. In the end, the alliance commander only sent back a heartbroken sentence: deep sea, human forbidden zone. Even the extremely fast and invincible tiger, that hunted in the southern border of Siberia last time, used a full regiment of heavy equipment. In the end, he was still out of the siege by the invincible tiger, and fled to the mountains. More than 20 tanks made of special alloys were beaten to scrap by the tiger, and hundreds of soldiers died under the claws of the tiger. In the end, the missile force could only bombard the area where the invincible tiger was located, but still allowed the tiger to escape into the forest where there was no signal. So far, only the North African Alliance, led by Egypt, has made gratifying progress in hunting that invincible lion group, captured a full 3 lionesses of different species. One end was given to the Union of Scientists as a research object, and the other 2 ends were full of flesh and blood made into high-quality ingredients for the enjoyment of many big figures in the North African Union. The different kinds of flesh and blood have extremely abundant energy. When eating, they have eliminated the hidden dangers of physical ailments for many important figures, and strengthened their bodies. There was even a middle-aged man who successfully unlocked the genetic shackles. Such an astonishing scene made many big figures in the North African Alliance even more ecstatic. At the beginning, more elite fighters were mobilized, and a large-scale encirclement and suppression of the lion group was carried out. It's just that this gratifying result did not dispel everyone's worries. But in the end it was decided to leave the fort, because the resources in the fort could not feed so many people. However, for areas where signals are lost such as the Arctic, the northernmost border of Siberia, the Caspian Sea, and the Black Sea, still keep vigilant and explore, and don't plan to clear it up immediately. After all, no one knew exactly what kind of mutated creatures appeared in the areas where these signals were lost. At this time, after the no, one person in the army gave a mobilization speech. The elite fighters in the human fortress received orders one after another, and began to come out of the human fortress in full force. After a passionate mobilization speech, the eyes of many soldiers were full of fanatical fighting spirit. But they, who received the filtered information in the fortress, didn't know what kind of terrifying opponent they were going to face. It is at this time, from the very heart, Su Lin was turning back towards his pack of wolves. This distance is not short, Su Lin is not fast, and it took about an hour to return to his territory. Looking at the familiar scenery in front of him, he felt a little relaxed. Whether you are with people or animals, you will relax a lot when you come to the place where you usually live. Along the way, Su Lin was about to enter his territory. They entered a shallow ice-covered area and hunted, and killed an adult beluga whale. Belugas are the smaller species of cetaceans. The forehead is protruding and round, the beak is very short, and the lip line is wide. Body color is very pale, a distinctive white. It is also this unique white that makes it look higher than other cetaceans. Beluga whales are not fast swimmers, so they are often hunted by polar bears. For the species of beluga whale, Surin has not eaten yet, so this time I hunted one to try something new. If you want to come to 7 or 8 seals, they can bring you hundreds of evolution points. This beluga whale has a full 16th level, and at least it can get a lot of evolutionary value. Now that Su Lin wants to be promoted again, he needs to consume a huge amount of evolution points. But for the devouring of new species, it is not only to obtain evolutionary value, but also to obtain the gene fragments in it. As for the so-called genetic level, Su Lin has roughly figured it out after such a long time. Presumably this is the new level of life, brought about by devouring the genes and flesh of all things. The improvement of life level has made Su Lin's hidden combat power in all aspects extremely powerful. Now it is only the most elementary level of life, which has such a powerful hidden combat power. Su Lin really wanted to see what amazing bonus he would get after being promoted again. At present, Su Lin has a strength value of nearly 400, dragging a beluga whale that weighs more than 1 ton without much effort. After a while, the cave was not far away, and he was also discovered by the female wolf, who was patrolling the territory. This made the female wolf howl in surprise, and quickly rushed towards Su Lin. This female wolf is the mother of the little gray wolf, so she naturally recognizes the smell of Su Lin. If Su Lin hadn't taken it in at the beginning, I'm afraid it might not be able to survive the injury it is now. Therefore, for Su Lin, it is not only awe, but also a deep gratitude. All, with the penetrating wolf howling, it spread in the cold air. Su Lin's hearing was comparable to that of a radar, and he also heard the sound of many wolves galloping over in the cave several kilometers away. It can be seen that the wolves are very alert. After hearing the howling of the female wolf, they all rushed over. But it's just a good time to be here, and he also intends to see if the strength of the wolves has improved in the past month. Especially Little Hui, Little White Wolf Sister and Little Gray Wolf. Once these 4 alien species grow up, they will definitely not be weaker than the head wolf of Kani Mountain Wolf. Su Lin didn't howl in response to the female wolf, because the wolf not only held a huge white whale carcass in its mouth, but also 3 iceberg lotus petals. After the female wolf came over, she wanted to try to help drag this huge white whale, which was about 5 meters long. The weight of this white whale is nothing to Su Lin. For ordinary female wolves, it is impossible to be shaken. After holding it in its mouth for a long time, it couldn't even move the white whale's tail. This made the female wolf follow behind embarrassingly, helping Surin to check around for predators. In fact, this is useless. After all, Su Lin's current hearing, smell, and vision are almost unparalleled. Movements within a range of 30 to 40 kilometers can be easily heard. Now that Su Lin was standing here, he could vaguely hear the sound of Wolf Father and Mother Wolf sleeping soundly in the cave. With such a powerful induction, almost no poker can hide it from him. But he didn't say much. He just felt in his heart that the wolves really should be rectified. If he continues to be weak like this, it will no longer be a help to him, but a burden. While Su Lin was thinking, he was also walking in the direction where Xiao Hui and his cousin came galloping. In his perception, Xiao Hui's aura became much stronger than before he left. The galloping speed has also reached more than 20 meters per second. which is not too slow. This place is not far from the cave, so Xiao Hui took the lead and rushed here in 2 or 3 minutes. When it saw the majestic wolf body of its boss, it roared with excitement. All. The howling sound echoed over the cold Arctic ice field, followed by the wolf howling of the cousin, the wolf sister, and the little gray wolf. All. The long and loud howling of wolves resounded here and there. After a while, the wolves gathered around Su Lin. Xiao Hui, who flew over first, was wagging his tail and howling to express his surprise to Su Lin. Facing the boss whom he hadn't seen for almost a month, Xiao Hui jumped up and down excitedly. As for the wolf girl, who was getting bigger again, she also intimately buried the wolf's head in Su Lin's hair, sniffing the scent of Su Lin's body greedily. At this moment, Su Lin also glanced around to check the strength of the members of the wolf pack. The strength improvement of Little Hui, wolf sister and Little Gray Wolf is quite satisfactory. In a month, with the assistance of different kinds of flesh and blood, they have been promoted by about 1 level. Xiao Hui has been promoted to the late stage of level 7. Wolf sister and Gray Wolf have also reached the peak of level 4. And they are about to break through to level 5. Once he breaks through and becomes a level 5 alien, he is also eligible to be the alpha wolf among other wolves. As for the promotion of the cousin, it is very gratifying, and she was promoted to level 7, although it has not yet evolved into a different species. Even ordinary level 7 wolves are not weak hunters in the Arctic ice field. You must know that the wolf father, back then, was only at the peak of level 6. In the end, Xiao Bei's strength improved, which made Su Lin most satisfied. In just 1 month, he broke through to the middle stage of level 5. Species, Polar Bear Xenospecies. Level 5. Vitality, 1052. Stamina, 67. Strength, 65. Defense, 68. Speed, 27. Xiao Bei's attribute is only level 5, and his blood value has exceeded 1,000. It can be seen that the future growth potential is terrifying. As a polar bear, Xiao Bai has an advantage that the wolves cannot match in terms of huge vitality. In addition to their improved strength, Su Lin also found that the size of the wolves had also expanded a lot during his absence. The number of female wolves under the cousin's command reached about 15. Each has a strength of at least level 4, and there are 2 female Arctic wolves of level 5. At present, the cousin is leading this group of female wolves, but she is quite powerful. Xiao Hui also has 6 level 5 male Arctic wolves under his command, and the clan led by Xiao Hui and his cousin alone has reached more than 20 wolves. As for the little lone wolf in the territory of the large wolf pack, there should be not a few wolves to absorb and expand. Pung! At this moment, Su Lin let go of the beluga whale he was holding. Then he howled in a low voice, in response to the surprised wolf howls of Xia Xiao Hui, cousin and wolf sister, and asked about the recent situation of the wolves in the sky. While returning to the cave with many wolf clans, Su Lin listened to Xiao Hui and his cousin's report on these days. The rest of the female and male wolves consciously dragged the huge white whale carcass. Many newly joined wolf clans were so frightened that they dared not even breathe in front of the majestic wolf king. Although I already knew that the wolf king was unmatched in strength, but the huge size of 7 or 8 meters is still beyond their expectations. A wolf king of this size probably doesn't need to fight against ordinary wolves. He can be crushed to death with 1 paw, right? Now looking at the huge white whale carcass, a pair of wolf eyes are full of awe. They knew that the strength of their own wolf king was probably beyond their comprehension, but the heart is more of a surprise, because in many cases, only under the leadership of a strong wolf king can the wolves survive in the cruel nature better. At this time, more than 20 wolves were struggling to drag the huge white whale carcass behind. This white whale carcass weighed more than a ton, which also meant that the food in the wolf pack had increased a lot. This made many wolves drag and tug even harder. If he wanted to behave better in front of the wolf king, he might be rewarded with more food. On the way back to the cave, Su Lin listened to Xiao Hui and his cousin's report, a general understanding of the current situation of the wolf pack. At present, the few bears in the wolf pack's territory are fairly safe, and they are all hunting within their respective territories. When encountering prey that conflicts with wolves, they also avoid them, because following this period of time, the blood and killings in this area, these bears with fairly good IQs know that this place is no longer their world. As for hunters such as lynx and Arctic fox, they are becoming more and more able to hide and lurk. Generally, they don't come out to hunt unless necessary, and they don't want to conflict with wolves. At present, the prey on the territory of the wolves have generally recovered their vitality. Musk ox herds, reindeer herds, moose herds, etc., are all thriving normally. It's just that this time, due to the delay of a rare blizzard, These species have not yet migrated. The pole is already in the polar night range. It will take less than a month or two for this area, and the polar night will really come. It is best not to migrate. Even if they migrate, Surin will lead the wolves to drive them back. Because with the great changes in the world, going to other places will also become the blood food of other hunters and alien species. It would be better as food for wolves. As for the lack of moss and shrubs and grass under the extreme night, can these large herbivorous races survive? It can only be said that when the large herbivore group cannot persist, Surin will lead the wolves to hunt them down in advance. Nature has always been ruthless, the law of the jungle and the survival of the fittest. At this time, Su Lin listened to the report all the way, and returned to the cave of the wolves. With the help of Xiao Wei and cousin Chi Chi, the huge white whale carcass was barely dragged up. The cave is very spacious. Even though Su Lin already had a body size of 7 or 8 meters, and the number of wolves had increased a lot, they were not crowded at all. If it were the cave of Wolf Father and Wolf Mother, Su Lin of this size might not be able to enter now. After returning to the cave, Su Lin jumped and put 3 iceberg lotus petals into a concave hole high on the stone wall. These 3 iceberg lotus petals contain abundant pure energy, which is very attractive to any species. Put it on a high place so that the wolf pack members can't see it, so they won't have any ideas. Next, after placing the 3 iceberg lotus petals, Su Lin also thought about the matter of the little lone wolf. In the report from Xiao Hui and his cousin just now, little lone wolf didn't send back any news for half a month. As for the various prey that were killed in the territory of the large wolf pack, and the expansion of the wolf pack territory, has never sent any news. Let the wolves go to receive it. It seems like the little lone wolf over there has already established himself as the king. A few days ago, Xiao Hui even sneaked to the territory to have a look, and found that the wolves under little lone wolf's command had already reached more than 100. Xiao Huijian had never seen such a large pack of wolves. The little lone wolf, who was originally on par with Xiao Hui in strength, now has a tyrannical and ferocious arrogance that is rising wantonly. Little Hui's sixth sense frantically sends out dangerous signals, which means that little lone wolf's strength has far surpassed it. In the early stage of alien species, as long as they have pure energy, they can grow up in a short time. Can be seen that the little lone wolf should have had some adventures in the territory of the large wolf pack. However, wolves have a strong sense of smell and hearing. Little Hui can find little lone wolf, which means that little lone wolf has also found it. No little gray is left behind, which means that the little lone wolf has no two intentions. Otherwise, with hundreds of wolves under his command, plus the little lone wolf with ferocious combat power, even if Xiao Hui has 10 lives, it won't be enough to kill him. But if the little lone wolf really has inflated strength, his head is dazzled, and he feels that he can stand on his own. Su Lin doesn't mind teaching it what rules are. At the beginning, he was able to pick up the seriously injured and dying little lone wolf under the extreme night, and support it in the pack of wolves sitting next to him. Then naturally he can take back all of this.
If you're enjoying my content, please consider donating a coffee or checking out my shirts on TeePublic.
Su Lin asked her cousin to send to female wolves, with her own orders to call back the little lone wolf. The ferocity and cunning of the wolves are generally only displayed when they are outsiders or hunting. Internally, they are still very united. Su Lin didn't doubt the little lone wolf, but if the little lone wolf really expands his strength and wants to rebel, Su Lin can only say that if he can give it all these things, he can naturally take them back. Su Lin, who returned to the cave at this time, glanced at the food in the cave, and found that the food in the cave had not been consumed much in the past month. Originally 5,000 caddies of foreign flesh and blood, only about 400 to 500 caddies were missing. Could be seen that he was not here, so the cousin and Xiao Hui didn't dare to share the flesh and blood of the different species. After all, they also know the preciousness of this heterogeneous flesh and blood. The flesh and blood of ordinary species can only be used as food after the world has changed drastically, but the flesh and blood of different species are different. The pure energy contained in it can make all kinds of species evolve rapidly, and even break the genetic shackles to make them become heterogeneous. Just looking at the cousin who had to eat 100 caddies of foreign flesh and blood, Su Lin couldn't help but shook his head. The cousin's growth potential is too average. Even relying on the pure energy in the flesh and blood of the different species, they have reached level 7 abruptly, but they still haven't evolved into a different species. At this time, while looking at the food reserves in the cave, he also looked at the 20 or 30 wolves in the cave. He began to think about the future development direction of the wolf pack in his heart. He is the wolf king, and his will determine how far the wolves can grow in this world in the future. Surin wanted to create an invincible pack of wolves. But the base of Arctic species is still too small. This makes even after the great change of the world, there are not many people who have evolved into different species in the area with a radius of 300 to 400 kilometers. Counting the wolves of their own, there are only a few dozen aliens at present. If it is in the African prairie or the southern border of Siberia, with a wide variety of species, I believe that there will definitely be many different species, under the premise that the species base is sufficient. But these places are all too far from the North Pole. At present, Su Lin has no plans to carry out long-distance migration with the wolves. Now what he plans to do is to unify the nearby wolf clan first, then screen out some potential wolves to form an elite wolf pack, allocate some heterogeneous flesh and blood to see if any wolf clan can evolve into a heterogeneous species. Even if not, that alien flesh and blood is enough to make the strength of ordinary wolves rise to a higher level. With such an elite wolf pack, it will also help in the future. As Su Lin thought about it, the sky outside gradually darkened. At present, the extreme day has receded, and the time for day and night to take over has come again. Seeing the gradually dimming night, Su Lin got up and ate some beluga meat. After the beluga was hunted, he didn't eat right away. With Su Lin's current food intake, he could eat 200 catties of flesh and blood in one meal. For the newly captured white whale meat, Surin also used an evolution potion again. Evolution potion is a reward that is often given in combat ratings. Su Lin has more than 40 branches, and he didn't save them. In his mind, he considered whether to use a few for Xiao Hui and Xiao Bai to speed up their growth, because only the little lone wolf in the wolf pack can stand alone. It is far from enough. Ding! Is the evolution potion used? Use? After the cold effect of the evolution potion spread throughout his body, Surin began to devour the flesh and blood of the beluga whale. Surin's fangs tore off a large piece of flesh from the back of the white whale and swallowed it into his mouth. Relatively speaking, the meat of the white whale is not as delicious as venison and musk beef. The meat fiber is a bit rough, the meat taste is very strong, and the blood color is also very heavy. However, a large piece of flesh and blood also contains a lot of calories and nutrients. From the perspective of survival, this white whale meat is still excellent. No wonder polar bears regularly hunt beluga whales. Ding! The host eats the white whale and gains 42 evolutionary points. The level of belugas is extremely high, and adult beluga whales are even higher than polar bears. One sip, the evolution value given will also exceed that of a polar bear. 42 evolutionary points, plus the evolutionary value of ordinary species, is only reduced by 0.5 each time, which means that this beluga whale can at least provide Su Lin with more than 1,000 evolutionary points. This made Su Lin eat with great gulp. The large chunks of flesh and blood of the white whale were swallowed by Surin into his stomach. Ding! The host eats the white whale and gains 41.5 evolutionary points. Ding! The host eats the white whale and gains 41 evolutionary points. Ding! The host eats the white whale and gains 40.5 evolutionary points. After a while, Su Lin in the cave ate 100 to 10 catties of white whale flesh and blood in one go, and gained a lot of evolutionary value. The evolutionary value provided by the flesh and blood of this white whale is almost equal to the evolutionary value of that alien snow all back then. Next, Su Lin disemboweled the beluga whale and began to search for the essence of the beluga whale. The internal organs of cetaceans, due to excessive heavy metals, have caused considerable damage to ordinary species, but this bit of damage has no effect on any alien species, let alone Su Lin. Tear. Accompanied by the sound of flesh and blood being torn apart, Su Lin bit off the internal organs of the white whale and swallowed it into his stomach. After swallowing a lot of parts one after another, when he was almost full, a hint of light gray appeared in front of Su Lin's eyes. Ding! Congratulations to the host for eating the liver of a beluga whale, level 16, and gaining 300 evolution points. Liver. It turns out that the essence of the white whale is the liver. The essence part provides 300 points of evolution, which is not too little for ordinary species. In addition, enter Nuidus Ocean. There are many creatures, and there are many kinds of cetaceans. If each head can provide thousands of evolutionary points, it won't take long for him to break through again. Even though he has encountered the extremely terrifying king squid in the deep sea, Su Lin is still looking at the evolutionary value of these species in the ocean. After all, there are too many species under the ocean. As long as you try to be careful and don't go to the deep sea, the risk is relatively small. At this time, after Su Lin devoured the essence of the white whale, while thinking, he returned to his position and began to rest. By the way, he greeted Xiao Wei, cousin, Xiao Bai, wolf sister and gray little wolf for food, and Su Lin returned to his cave from the North Pole. and the nerves that had been tense these days finally ushered in the long-lost relaxation. He returned to his place, and began to rest on his stomach. As for the large number of wolves, they waited for the cousins to finish eating, and then waited eagerly for the distribution of food, wagging their tails. Then the cousin gave them some beluga meat. The appetites of the more than 20 wolves were not small, and they lost 300 to 400 caddies of beluga meat in one meal. But high wolves only eat their prey once every 10 days, so on average, they only eat 30 or 40 caddies of flesh and blood every day, and each wolf does not exceed 1 or 2 caddies. After a group of wolves finished eating the food, the cousin gave the task in a low howl. A dozen or so female wolves were divided into 2 waves. One wave patrolling the territory and the other around the cave. It is said that it is patrolling the cave, but it is actually equivalent to rest. Because the cave has a radius of several kilometers, all potential threats have been cleared away by the wolves long ago. In addition, Su Lin is also back. There is no threat at all in the cave of the wolves. Unless you are an impatient hunter, you will come here. In addition, the 5 male wolves under Xiao Hui's command, the cousin also assigned them to monitor the bears in the territory. After all, in the cave, except for the little gray and white wolves, the other wolf clans are all female wolves. A group of male high wolves are here, which is very inconvenient. The cousin's inherent thinking has always believed that the female wolf in the wolf pack belongs to the wolf king. Although the wolf queen has not been selected yet, she has to help Su Lin control the female wolf of the wolf pack. After explaining all the tasks, the cousin also lay down at the entrance of the cave and continued her security work. As the strength of the cousin gradually improved, the originally developed hearing became more sensitive. Maybe it can't compare to Su Lin, but it can still hear the movement within 7 or 8 kilometers. With the vigilance of their cousin, Xiao Hui and Hubai Xiaolang returned to their positions, and fell asleep on their stomachs. As for the wolf girl, she squeezed to Su Lin's side very dependently, next to her wolf brother. After feeling the temperature from Brother Wolf's huge wolf body, he fell asleep peacefully. I haven't seen Brother Wolf for a month, which makes Girl Wolf start to rely on Su Lin. Even at the peak of level 4, he still has the body shape of an adult Arctic wolf, but he still clings to Su Lin as he did when he was a child. Nothing to say all night. 3 days passed in a flash. During these 3 days, Su Lin also inspected the territory again, and found that the prey on the territory survived pretty well. Shrubs, grasses, mosses and the like also stubbornly popped up after the cold blizzard. In addition, I also took 300 caddies of musk beef with me to see the wolf father and wolf mother. It's just that Su Lin can't enter the cave where Father Wolf and Mother Wolf are now, and the wolf father and wolf mother looked at their cub's huge size of 7 or 8 meters, and their wolf eyes were so shocked that they couldn't speak. The growth rate of their own cubs far exceeded their imagination. Father Wolf also fully recognized his position, and began to decide from the bottom of his heart to work under his son's command. It's just the position of the wolf, you have to arrange one for yourself, right? Father Wolf, whose IQ was not low, began to howl and communicate with Su Lin. Father Wolf's meaning made Su Lin smile slightly. Of course he still complied with Father Wolf's request. After all, he is also his own wolf father, and he has a deep affection here. Father Wolf and his wolf clan are considered outsourced wolves. It is also under the jurisdiction of the wolf father, and the wolf pack's territory is also the wolf father's. It's just that when there is a hunting mission in the future that requires the wolves to mobilize, I will notify Dad Wolf. With such a great right, Father Wolf howled happily and excitedly to agree. Such crony appointments may be very much resisted and despised in human society, but in the pack of wolves whose strength is supreme, Su Lin's order is supreme, and no wolf tribe will question it. Besides, Father Wolf's strength is also worthy of the position of the number 1 wolf. There is no doubt about the growth potential of the wolf father, and he can reach the limit of the Arctic wolf before the world changes. More than a month ago, the wolf father was at the peak of level 7. After more than a month now, he has devoured the flesh and blood of different species, and his growth rate is very fast. After breaking through to level 9 heterogeneous species, you will get a talent after level 1. So for this appointment, even Xiao Hui, who is by his side, agrees very much. All. At this time, Xiao Hui was howling and howling, welcoming Father Wolf to join him. He was very excited. After all, Wolf Father and Wolf Mother also have great kindness for it. The other is the growth of the Wolf Mother. After swallowing a lot of flesh and blood of different species, the Wolf Mother also successfully evolved into a different species. At present, the Wolf Mother's white and flawless hair is also full of luster, and she is in an excellent state of mind. The Wolf Mother has reached the mid-level 7, and her body is 2.78 meters. Such a body shape strengthened the status of the wolf mother as the queen of wolves among the little wolves. Almost no wolf tribe dared to question the order of the wolf mother. Seeing that mother wolf and father wolf are living well, Su Lin is relieved. The 300 caddies of alien flesh and blood were delivered to the wolf father and wolf mother, so that they could still eat as much as possible by themselves. In this way, their strength can be improved rapidly again. At present, the strength of the wolf father and the wolf mother, combined with the wolves, it can be said that even a polar bear has the strength to fight. Next, Su Lin turned around and left. He didn't stay long, because today is the third day. The female wolf she sent out to pass the order came back, and said that the little lone wolf would return today. If he hasn't come back yet, Su Lin can only go and have a look. This made him and Xiao Hui come to the snowy at the very edge of the wolf father's territory. Looking at the territory of the large wolf pack to the west, a pair of golden-brown wolf eyes narrowed, exuding a dangerous aura. Su Lin valued the little lone wolf very much, so he hoped that it would not disappoint him. And just when Su Lin's idea had just arisen, his keen hearing heard the sound of a large pack of wolves galloping 30 or 40 kilometers away. Followed by, Su Lin stood on the snow slope, raised his wolf head and looked straight into the distance. What appeared in his field of vision was a large pack of hundreds of wolves rushing towards them. At the forefront is the little lone wolf with gray-purple hair and fierce arrogance. The little lone wolf was running extremely fast, and within a short time he was separated from the pack of wolves. This distance is very far, and Su Lin can't adjust the attributes of the little lone wolf for the time being, but judging by its running speed, it has already reached a speed of about 30 meters per second. This speed means that little lone wolf has been promoted to at least level 10. This is also the first wolf clan under his command to advance to level 10. While the little lone wolf was galloping at full speed, it quickly approached Su Lin. The little lone wolf's keen sense of smell also quickly smelled the scent of Su Lin, and it raised its head to look at the snowy slope. All I could see was a huge white wolf with a size of 7 or 8 meters under the soft sunlight, looking down at it from a height. When he saw the figure of his boss, the little lone wolf couldn't help but howl up to the sky. A loud wolf howl brought out incomparable excitement. After howling, he quickly ran towards his boss. The hundreds of wolves under his command have already been left behind by the little lone wolf for a long time. Today's little lone wolf has gone through one fight after another in the past month, and the aura that is swaying all over his body already has a bit of Su Lin's demeanor. And Su Lin felt a little relieved when he saw the little lone wolf galloping over. The little lone wolf picked up the pack of wolves by himself in the extreme night, and then gradually delegated power to train it to grow to this point. To say there is no emotion is a lie. He regards the little lone wolf as an indispensable member of the wolf pack. If we talk about wolf father and wolf mother, they are the most important in his heart. The wolf sister, cousin, Little Gray and Little Lone Wolf are in the second echelon. Even Xiaobai and Gray Little Wolf can't compare. At this time, Su Lin looked at the little lone wolf, who was getting closer, and let out a long howl. His long howl was rough and long, with strong penetrating power, like a thunderclap in the clear sky. The wolf howling in response also made the little lone wolf run towards this side even more excitedly and vigorously. Immediately after, more than 100 wolves rushed over. First, more than 20 wolves who had seen the Wolf King howled first, and the rest of the wolves immediately followed. A loud howling of wolves resounded here and there. All the wolves roared loudly, expressing their surprise and excitement at seeing the Wolf King. Little Lone Wolf's surprise and excitement at seeing his boss is no worse than that of Little Hui, cause it always remembers that under the extreme night, when food is expensive and scarce, even its own wolf father and wolf mother will eat it. But in the end it was Su Lin who saved him. Not only saved it, but also gave it food to eat. This moved Little Lone Wolf from the bottom of his heart. It has always remembered this kindness in its heart. Even if it dies, it dare not forget it. If it didn't have its own boss, it wouldn't be where it is now. Today's Little Lone Wolf has a body size of about 3 meters 3/4. Counting the wolf's tail, it is already more than 4 meters. With such a body shape, it can be regarded as a giant in the Arctic where species are expensive and scarce. With a thought in Su Lin's mind, the attributes of the little lone wolf appeared before his eyes. Species, Arctic wolf, exotic. Level 11. Vitality, 1357. Stamina, 137. Strength, 141. Defense, 139. Speed, 142. Talent, dire wolf, class C. Su Lin discovered that the little lone wolf had broken through to the peak of level 11. It can be seen that the opportunity encountered by the little lone wolf is not small. Although the alien race advances in the early stage, The pure energy required is not too much. But in a month, he broke through to the peak of level 11. This kind of promotion speed is also amazing. It was not a small adventure, probably similar to the 3 iceberg lotuses I harvested at the bottom of the iceberg crevice. And the talent of the little lone wolf is exactly the same as that of the gray and white variegated wolf king back then. They are all mad wolf talents. Although this talent is not comparable to hunting, it is also a talent that gets stronger as you fight, perfect for little lone wolf. If he really went crazy with the ferocity and murderous nature of the little lone wolf, he can definitely bring out the wild wolf's talent to the fullest. At this time, after the little lone wolf howled excitedly for a while, it just remembered something, and quickly took out several small black fruits from the gap between the wolf's claws. These fruits are only the size of grapes, which can only be considered insignificant for the current 4-meter-sized lone wolf. Can be easily hidden in claw hair. The little lone wolf still learned from Su Lin the movement hidden in the claw hair. As a different species, the little lone wolf not only has extremely brutal combat power, both learning ability and leadership ability are far higher than Xiao Hui's. The black fruit is inconspicuous. When Su Lin took a closer look, he clearly felt an extremely pure energy contained in the black fruit. Can be seen from this that this should be the opportunity that the little lone wolf got in the territory of the large wolf pack. Su Lin found that the black fruit looked familiar, as if he had eaten it in the cave of Wolf Parent and Wolf Mother. At this time, he also howled twice and began to ask how the little lone wolf got the fruit. During the questioning, Su Lin also discovered that the little lone wolf had some horrific wounds on its abdomen and back. Some of these wounds have injured the bones. With the tenacious vitality of the alien species, and the terrifying recovery speed, it will take a long time to recover. These wounds also prove that it wasn't the little lone wolf who didn't let the wolves take over the territory this month, but that the conquest had been going on all the time. Even with its ferocious combat power, it has encountered many fierce battles in the territory of the wolves in the west. But the little lone wolf didn't feel wronged, or begged for credit in the slightest. It was just excited, reporting the situation of this month's battle to the boss attentively. During the report, he also arched the black fruit with his nose, pushed the black fruit in front of Surin, and let him swallow it. Among the wolves, the Wolf King has the priority to eat any prey and food captured by the wolves. This is the supreme right of the Wolf King. Looking at the fruit, Su Lin felt the loyalty of the little lone wolf. In the end, it just let out a low howl and received the fruit into the hair of the claw thorn. Ready to go back, reward the little lone wolf with an iceberg lotus petal. The iceberg lotus petals not only have pure energy, but also contain rich life essence, which is enough to make it recover quickly from injuries. Next, while listening to the little lone wolf's report, Su Lin returned to the cave with hundreds of wolves behind him. The hundreds of wolves looked at the Wolf King, who was 7 or 8 meters tall and almost twice the size of the little lone wolf. Their eyes were full of shock and enthusiasm. It really deserves to be their Wolf King. In their eyes, size represents strength. With such a majestic Wolf King, they can no longer imagine the strength of the Wolf King. After all, the strength of the little lone wolf alone is enough to shock the wolves inexplicably. The little lone wolf currently has a speed of more than 30 meters per second and an explosive power of 1 or 2 tons at every turn. This kind of strength has already surpassed that alien lynx back then. The fighting strength of the little lone wolf is the strongest among the current pack of wolves, except for Su Lin. Even the experienced wolf father might not be able to last a few rounds into the hands of the little lone wolf. Su Lin is quite satisfied with the growth of little lone wolf. On the way back, he also affirmed little lone wolf's achievements in the past month. In the past month, the little lone wolf led the wolf pack to flatten the territory of the original large wolf pack. Even a few bears shunned the wolves. At first, several bears thought that without the gray and white variegated Wolf King, their life would be easier. But the little lone wolf, who appeared right after them, directly broke their thinking. The viciousness and ferocity of the little lone wolf were even worse than the gray and white Wolf King. For a moment, all the bear clan dared not speak out. As an omnivorous animal, the grizzly just silently gnawed on moss, shrub shoots and roots. Polar bears, on the other hand, only dare to linger near the ice. As for the wounds on the little lone wolf, most of them were left by suppressing the remnants of the large wolf pack and hunting a lynx of different species. Especially that alien lynx is not easy to mess with. The little lone wolf led many wolf clans under his command, and was hunted several times but escaped. In the end, they found the lynx's new lair, and the wolves killed the lynx at the expense of the lives of more than 10 wolves and the serious injury of the little lone wolf. And the black fruits of little lone wolf were also picked from a huge black-fruited gala near the lynx's lair. The huge black fruit rock orchid should have evolved into a different flower not long ago, and did not attack the little lone wolf. Instead, the little lone wolf picked more than 10 fruits. The little lone wolf was seriously injured at the time, and urgently needed to replenish energy, so he swallowed 6 of them. The pure and surging energy has made it grow rapidly for more than half a month. The little lone wolf brought back the remaining 6 fruits. The little lone wolf also explained that although he had captured a lot of prey this month, since he hadn't been rewarded by the wolves, he had to be forced to give the prey to his wolves as rewards. Otherwise, most of these wolves are newly absorbed. If you don't have a high sense of belonging to the wolf pack, and don't even have some food rewards, it's easy to disperse. So when the little lone wolf reported this, he was obviously guilty. You know, in the wolf clan, only the wolf king and the alpha wolf have the right to distribute food. It is a mere second wolf, far from this qualification, but seeing that Su Lin hadn't expressed anything, the little lone wolf gradually felt relieved. In a short time, Su Lin took the little lone wolf back to the cave. As for the hundreds of wolves, they squatted outside the cave and guarded them, and the cousin at the entrance of the cave was also shocked when she saw the hundreds of wolves. Hulala. She has never imagined that one day the wolf pack will reach the size of hundreds of wolves. In my cousin Xiaofu Jian's mind, I would be satisfied if I could own a small territory, like the wolf father and wolf mother, with a family of more than 10 or 20 wolves. There is plenty of food to enjoy, and the members of the wolf pack live together in peace, which is a very happy thing. As for the grand scene of hundreds of wolves at every turn, I never thought about it. It's just that the cousin's simple IQ and thinking don't understand that if she gets rich and settles down, if she keeps going, then sooner or later, the wolves will become the blood of others. After all, the world has undergone great changes, and all kinds of powerful alien species emerge endlessly. At this time, Su Lin, who had returned to the cave, listened to the little lone wolf's report, and was ready to reward him for his merits. The promotion that should be promoted, the reward that should be rewarded. Su Lin has a human mind, and knows how to gather the cohesion of the wolves. Now counting the 100 or so wolves under little lone wolf's command, plus the wolf father and the left-behind wolves in the cave, the number of wolves is no less than that of the original large wolf pack. It's just that this amount is far from enough for Su Lin. He intends to completely unify the wolf clan around here, and even the bear clan will surrender. Except for some deeply hidden lynx and Arctic fox, hunters in this area have to surrender to wolves. He wants to create a truly unprecedented and powerful wolf pack. By the way, try to see if consuming some heterogeneous flesh can cultivate some more heterogeneous. Once cultivated, the strength of the wolf pack will be greatly improved again. Therefore, after the little lone wolf came back, Su Lin began to reward the wolves under the command of the little lone wolf, and at the same time told his cousin, Xiao Wei and Xiao Bai, to take the wolves who stayed behind to go out and kill the nearby wolves. The wolves and the bears are united. Xiao Bai belongs to the bear family. Relatively speaking, the success rate of recruiting the same kind is higher. In addition, let them go out to dominate the wolf and bear tribes in the nearby area, and they want them to accumulate some credit. With the authority of the wolf king, Su Lin can indeed promote subordinate members at will. It's just that Xiao Wei, cousin, and Xiao Bai are different from Father Wolf. Father Wolf rules the wolves under his command independently, and there will be no voices of dissatisfaction. However, if the cousin, Xiao Hui, and Xiao Bai are forcibly promoted to a higher position, it will easily lead to resistance from other members of the wolf pack. Another aspect is to train their actual combat ability. Compared with the little lone wolf, their shopping and fighting are too weak. At present, Su Lin started to deal with the wolves and rectified them drastically. And when Surin started to rectify the wolves, one after another extremely tragic battles were also unfolding in Siberia, Russia. Gunpowder smoke filled the entire territory of Siberia. Roar. In the southern border of Siberia, there are invincible tigers roaring, jumping up from the forest. He directly slapped an armed helicopter to pieces. Several battlefield commanders are on a high mountain. From time to time, I would look at the smoky battlefield opposite with a telescope, with a very dignified expression. It's too ruthless. This Siberian tiger is too murderous. Our iron barrel-like siege was almost torn apart. The commander who was the leader put down the binoculars, and let out a long breath with a heavy expression. This commander is called Rodney, and under his command are 3 tank battalions, 1 artillery battalion, and 1 field battalion, consisting of more than 3,500 elite soldiers. But in this hunt, a quarter of them were killed or injured. This made him extremely heartbroken. But with so many casualties, they still haven't captured this invincible tiger. If it wasn't for the cover bombing by the missile force last time, I'm afraid it wouldn't even be able to seriously injure this tiger. Master Colonel, don't worry too much. Now this tiger has been seriously injured, and has lost its original power. As long as we can maintain our offensive, we will definitely be able to kill this invincible tiger. Rodney's adjutant comforted him from the sidelines. Just for the comfort of the adjutant, Rodney did not express his position, because the battlefield has always been changing rapidly. As long as the battle situation is not settled for a moment, then there are infinite possibilities, especially in the face of such a fierce tiger, with a speed of hundreds of meters per second and sharp claws and fangs that can penetrate the strongest alloy. How dare he relax in the slightest? Roar. At this time, this Siberian tiger was about 10 meters in size and weighed at least several tons. A pair of orange eyes flashed with an almost crazy look. The roar of the tiger exploded in the forest. Many nearby species that hadn't had time to escape trembled amidst the roar of tigers and the sound of gunpowder and gunfire. At present, this mountain forest is no longer a world of ordinary species. It's a dirge of blood and fire. It is the brilliant collision of the latest genetic power and the peak technological power. And such a scene is being staged everywhere in Siberia. Among them, in the northern border of Siberia, a group of tigers with 15 to 6 heads was being hunted by more than 20 armed helicopters. More than 20 armed helicopters are flying very high, and there are more than a dozen shadow fighters above the sky above. They are the latest fighters of the 6th generation. These fighter planes are crisscrossing in the sky, forming a beautiful landscape. Countless ammunition is ruthlessly strafing and bombing on this vast Siberian plain. Tigers have always lived alone. Now that this group of tigers has gathered together, it is obvious that there are different species of tigers, uniting the forces of the tiger clan. Amidst the roar of the tigers, many tigers were looking for nearby rocks as cover. It's just that under the armor-piercing and high-explosive bombs, these rocks were directly blown to pieces. From time to time, there will be a fierce tiger, whose body will be torn apart. However, during the rebellion of the tiger group, there was a faint golden light emitting from the body of a different species of tiger. Then, there was a long roar. The roar of the tiger could be called piercing clouds and cracking stones. Directly shook several armed helicopters flying at low altitude until various instruments and windows were shattered. The pilot was directly shocked until his eardrums were shattered, heart veins were cracked. In the eastern border of Siberia, a tall brown bear with a size of more than 10 meters is also beating one steel tank after another to scrap at a speed faster than a cheetah. It has thick bare hair and flesh that glows faintly, as if several times harder than steel. When the stray bullet hit it, it only produced sparks. Those terrifying bear eyes revealed bloodthirsty cruelty when they opened and closed. As for the other weaker alien species in Siberia, they all fled and hid during the encirclement and suppression. Many alien species also fled to the cold North Pole, because in their impression, the cold Arctic is covered with snow and glaciers, and many of the peak technologies of human beings will be affected by the severe cold and fail when they reach the Arctic. It's just that they don't know that there are also invincible hunters in the Arctic that can make them timid and fearful. Not only the mutated species in Siberia, but also fierce collision and shopping with human technology. Mutated species all over the world are regarded as serious problems by human beings. Except for some red danger areas with no signal, gunpowder and war are everywhere. And in the northern border of Siberia, Russia, in a city that had just been recovered, a tall, very glamorous woman looked at this ruined city. Her expression was very depressed. This woman is none other than Tiffany, a student in the Department of Biological Studies. Now her beautiful face is no longer lively and cheerful. This terrible cold weather disaster has dealt too heavy a blow to mankind. It's just that Tiffany is still holding the hope for a better future, and is walking towards the community where he goes home with his family. I hope that the buildings in the community have not become ruins, so at least the family still has a place to live. But just after they had walked a certain distance, suddenly, there was a huge roar in the sky. They looked up and saw several armed helicopters coming over the heads of the crowd. People have seen these steel killers too many times these days, and there is no surprise and excitement in the peaceful age. Both pairs of eyes are full of numbness. Many people just took a look and left with their families. At present, many people are thinking about how to rebuild their homes and how to survive in the future. They are not in the mood to waste time watching these helicopters. It's just that the Tiffany family couldn't leave, because these armed helicopters stopped right in front of their family. Soon, a team of humans with an average height of 2.56 meters and armed to the teeth came out of the helicopter. When this group of people slowly walked towards Tiffany, Tiffany could feel a strong sense of oppression. New human. The word popped out of Tiffany's mind. Only a special force composed of new humans can bring such a powerful oppressive force. Especially the exaggerated individual combat weapons in the hands of these people further prove this point, because only a new human being with a strong physique can hold these terrifying weapons so easily. These people are wearing the most advanced nano-level protective clothing, which is specially made for giant beasts and exotic flowers and trees. It can effectively withstand the great impact and anti-shock force. And there are high-tech goggles such as night vision devices and analyzers on the top of the head. It can be said that they are piled up with money one by one, and they are active combat fortresses. A new human headed by one of them looked at Tiffany, and then said in a deep voice, "Hello, Miss Tiffany, I am Bob, the captain of the Special Forces, and this time I was ordered to explore the North Pole. After field exploration, I would like to invite you to explore together. In addition to you, there are several biological experts. So please rest assured that if there is danger, our Special Forces will definitely use their lives to defend your safety." Bob was just talking normally, but his deep voice still had a great deterrent effect on ordinary humans. Tiffany's family would have wanted to say no, but looking at the fully armed and imposing Special Forces all over the body, they didn't dare to speak immediately. After all, they also know that this is the post-disaster era, and it is no longer an era of peace. If they really offend the officials, the consequences and price are likely to be unbearable for their family. This made them all look at Tiffany, and Tiffany also took a deep breath and nodded after thinking for a long time. "Okay, but my family has no place to live, so I would like to ask you to help solve my family's living problems." Special Forces Captain Bob nodded in agreement and said, "Okay, I'll get in touch, and someone will arrange it then." Tiffany also asked the last sentence, "Then when are you leaving?" "I'll let you know in about a month." Listening to this time, Tiffany also felt relieved. This means that she has at least one more month to spend with her family, which makes her very satisfied. As for exploring the North Pole, Tiffany felt that it was an extremely dangerous thing, because the terrifying cold current sweeping through most of the cities in Siberia started from the North Pole. So how terrifying must the species be that can survive in that cold North Pole? Although Arctic species are expensive and scarce, perhaps there are fewer mutated creatures, but if there were any, they probably wouldn't be comparable to these mutant species on the Siberian plain. Right. After all, more than half a year ago, when she went to the North Pole to shoot, she met a mysterious hunter who could tear apart grizzly bears under the extreme night. Nowadays, it is even harder to say how many horrors there will be. It's just that since the officials found her, she had to go. At this time, Tiffany also suddenly remembered the handsome and extraordinary white wolf he met about a year ago. I don't know if the white wolf is still alive. Under the great changes in the world and the frightening cold current, even a powerful white wolf that can hunt and kill large prey alone, it is not so easy to survive, right? At this time, Tiffany was thinking this way while being registered with his personal information by the Special Forces. At this time, the cold North Pole also began to take over from day to night. Time is often the most ruthless, and will not stay for half a second because of anything. In a flash, several days passed. Even though the outside world is about to overturn the sky, the North Pole is still as calm as ever. The North Pole without a signal has become a forbidden area that humans dare not set foot on. Although Su Lin didn't know it, but if he knew it, he would agree with this prudent move of human beings. After all, even if it's not me, just the extraordinary power in the mysterious iceberg at the pole, thinking about it, even if human beings swarmed out with endless peak technology, they would still have to be killed to the point where corpses littered the fields, and blood flowed like rivers, because the extraordinary power in the mysterious iceberg cannot be calculated by common sense. In the past few days, Su Lin lived a stable life for several days. He rewarded the little lone wolf with an iceberg lotus petal, which made the little lone wolf officially break through to level 12, and his injuries were fully recovered. This iceberg lotus is the iceberg lotus in the mysterious ice palace, a different flower with a height of more than 20 levels. The pure energy contained in it is far better than a few grains of black fruit rock orchid. Not only did little lone wolf break through to level 12, during this period of time, the strength is also growing by leaps and bounds, and has reached the middle of level 12. It is estimated that after digesting the pure energy of the iceberg lotus, you can reach the peak of level 12 or level 13, regardless of whether it is a foreign species or Su Lin. The pure energy required for subsequent promotions will be multiplied. So even if the petals of the iceberg lotus contain a huge amount of pure energy, they can't make the little lone wolf rise several levels in a row like a few black orchid fruits. During this period of time, Su Lin also completely unified this territory. The territory of the wolves has expanded to an astonishing extent, reaching a rare 15,000 square kilometers. Almost no wolf territory can reach such an astonishing level. If you count the area ruled by the ice layer, it will be even bigger. The wolf clan under Su Lin's command is also as high as more than 350 heads. He promoted the little lone wolf to become another wolf father after the wolf father. For this appointment, all the wolves in the entire wolf pack did not have any resistance, and they all shouted and cheered for the promotion of the little lone wolf to the position of the head wolf. As for the cousin, Xiao Wei and Xiao Bai, they also made a lot of contributions in the expeditions outside these days. Only relatively speaking, these contributions are simply incomparable to that of little lone wolf. Through these days of battles, Xiao Bai has successfully advanced to level 6. The level 6 heterogeneous polar bear already had a body size of 1.78 meters, and it began to show the fierce arrogance that a polar bear should have. Su Lin did not forcibly promote Xiao Wei and his cousin to become the chief wolf, and decided to let them stay in the position of the second wolf for a while. And Xiao Bei's contribution these days is not small, not only cooperated with the wolves to experience several killings, but also recruited 15 bears. Among them were 7 polar bears and 8 grizzly bears. Although there was not a single alien species, the addition of these bear clans also greatly increased the strength of the wolf pack. Due to the inconvenience of communication, Su Lin asked Xiaobai to temporarily lead the bear clan, with the same status as Wolfby in the wolf pack. These bears still stay in their respective territories on weekdays, and only when the wolves need them will they be summoned. In addition, Su Lin also allocated 5 caddies of different kinds of flesh and blood to each wolf clan. An ordinary wolf clan would already feel very full after eating a caddy of foreign flesh and blood in a day, so 5 caddies is not a lot. The 300 wolves were divided into 1,500 caddies of different species of flesh and blood. Su Lin hoped that with such a large amount of blood, some new species of wolves would appear in this group of wolves. As for the 15 bears, Su Lin also allocated 20 caddies of different species of flesh and 100 caddies of ordinary meat to each bear. If it has the potential to evolve into a different species, then the energy provided by the flesh is enough. Even if it can't, the energy in these different kinds of flesh and blood can also make the strength of these wolf and bear clans increase a lot. After this group of wolves digested the flesh and blood of the different species, Su Lin would select a group of elites to form a truly invincible wolf pack. At present, Surin's rewards for the wolves are only food. Except for Xiaobai, no real second wolf has been promoted yet. This made many wolves look forward to it. I hope the Wolf King can see himself. But among wolves, strength often comes first. If you don't have enough strength, you won't be able to secure the position of Yilang. So Su Lin decided to wait and see who among the members under his command would evolve into a different species first. As for Little Hui, Wolf Sister and Little Grey Wolf, they still follow Su Lin and don't lead any wolf tribe. Although the 3 of them are heterogeneous, they obviously cannot stand alone, so Su Lin didn't intend to release them either. During these days, the Wolf Sister and the Grey and White Wolf have successively broken through to level 5 aliens. They were still toddlers a year ago, and their wolf body has grown to about 2 meters. Its combat strength is also stronger than that of a level 6 Arctic wolf. Put it in other small wolf packs, enough to be the head wolf. But here in Su Lin, they are not even a second wolf. As the development of the wolves gradually entered a stable stage, Su Lin walked out of the cave with Little Lone Wolf, Little Grey, and White Little Wolf and Wolf Sister. At present, this area of more than 10,000 square kilometers is the territory of wolves, and all kinds of hunters have been cleaned up. The wolves were in no mortal danger. This time, Su Lin planned to take a look at the huge Hygan Galen. These exotic flowers and plants seem to be unable to move independently, so a group of forces will be cultivated to protect their safety. So Su Lin felt that he should be able to reach a win-win situation with this Hygan Galen plant. Of course, if there is no win-win situation, then we can only cut the mess quickly. In the territory of wolves, unstable factors are not allowed to exist. After walking out of the cave, Su Lin looked up to the west. A pair of golden-brown wolf eyes flashed a frightening cold light between opening and closing. This is not cold-blooded, but to survive in nature, one must know how to be ruthless. In particular, Su Lin led a huge pack of wolves, and many times it was necessary to eliminate hidden dangers at the very beginning. At this time, the little lone wolf opened the way ahead, and the wolf's body had fully recovered from its injuries, and its arrogance rose to a higher level. At present, the little lone wolf with a strength of level 12 is already very difficult to meet opponents in the entire North Pole. Even if it is that alien grizzly bear, with the current little lone wolf, it should be able to contain it for a while. After all, the speed of the little lone wolf is about the same as that of a different kind of grizzly bear, and his talent is a wild wolf. The more injured he is, the greater his strength will be improved. The wolves are currently advancing, and the Arctic foxes and lynxes, that are still lurking in the wolves' territory tremble in their dens after smelling the scent of wolves. They didn't even dare to breathe, for fear that the wolves would discover their existence. In fact, Su Lin's powerful senses have already discovered them. It's just that these Arctic foxes and lynx are smaller hunters. It doesn't hurt to poach some food from wolf pack territory now and then. After all, with their bodies, even if they eat, they can't eat much food. For these hunters, Surin turned a blind eye. The rest of the large herbivorous animals encountered along the way also gathered together in fear under the terrifying aura of the little lone wolf and Surin, not even gnawing on moss and shrubs. However, Surin has no plans to hunt today, and they are moving very fast with several wolves. It's just that when passing through Father Wolf's territory, Surin discovered that the original herd of dozens of reindeer in Father Wolf's territory had disappeared. Hey, was it poached by that alien grizzly bear? Even poaching can't steal so much. Su Lin was a little surprised. A group of dozens of reindeer is definitely a lot of prey. If so many prey were hunted by wolves, they could eat them for 2 or 3 months. Even if the pack of wolves has reached the size of more than 300 wolves, and consumes a huge amount of food every time they eat, dozens of reindeer still have at least 20,000 to 30,000 caddies of flesh and blood. But Su Lin just paused for a moment and left. He planned to ask Dad Wolf, when he came back, and asked Dad Wolf to strengthen the inspection and protection of his territory. By the way, there are more than 20 wolves in the pack of wolves, under the command of Wolf Father and Mother Wolf, which should be more than enough to guard the territory of 1,000 square kilometers. It is definitely invincible to face the alien grizzly bear. It's just that my cave is only 20 to 30 kilometers away from here. If there is any big movement, Su Lin can quickly support it. Then, within a short while of traveling, they came to a steep stone wall. The steepness of this mountain road is comparable to that of the cave where Su Lin is located. This can stop most ordinary hunters. Su Lin's tall and majestic wolf body stood under the rocks, and when he raised his head slightly, he saw a huge black fruit rock orchid with a height of more than 2 meters. This huge black fruit rock orchid is rooted in the crevice of the stone wall. Hygen Gallon is known for its cold resistance and tenacious vitality, and this different flower has brought this into full play. Even in the cold North Pole, in the crevices of stone walls with little nutrients, they grow tenaciously. With a thought in Su Lin's mind, the introduction of this Hygen Gallon appeared in front of his eyes. Species: black fruit rock orchid. Different flowers. Level 13. Life status: alive. Sure enough, the grade of this Hygen Gallon is not high. It should be a plant that has just evolved into a different flower. This exotic flower could hardly pose a fatal threat to the little lone wolf recovering from his injuries, not to mention himself. Therefore, Su Lin and the little lone wolf walked directly on the steep mountain road. Whoa, 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 whoa. After the two of them walked over, the branches of Hygen Gallon visibly shook several times. There was a buzzing sound. Between each different species, there are communication difficulties. Therefore, Su Lin didn't know what Hygen Gallon's move was. However, he never showed his sharp claws and fangs, which already represented the goodwill of his visit this time. But what Su Lin didn't expect was that the little lone wolf actually understood the meaning of this Hygen Gallon plant. After being quiet for a moment, the little lone wolf began to howl at Su Lin to deliver the news. During the intermittent howling of wolves, Su Lin also roughly understood why the little lone wolf could understand the meaning of this Hygen Gallon plant. Turns out that the black fruit still has a fragment of the consciousness of a different flower, which can make the species that have swallowed the fruit understand its meaning. Su Lin nodded secretly. It's just that these are useless to me, because regardless of any consciousness, enter the tyrannical devouring force, it will turn into billowing energy. At this time, Su Lin also signaled the little lone wolf to convey his intentions to this Hygen Gallon. The wolves can provide shelter to Hygen Gallon, but every once in a while, they have to provide several fruits to the wolves as a reward. For exotic flowers and plants that cannot move, safety is often their top priority. At this time, the little lone wolf began to convey the meaning of his boss graciously, and at the same time urged the Hygen Gallon to agree. After all, it was a win-win situation for both parties. Especially the little lone wolf can perceive Hygen Gallon's fear of his boss from the meaning of Hygen Gallon's transmission. As long as there is consciousness, no matter whether it is an animal or a plant, it will be afraid of an invincible existence that can destroy itself in an instant. Amidst the intermittent howling of the little lone wolf, time was also slowly passing by. But at this time, what Su Lin didn't expect was that the territory of the wolves, which was thought to be completely stable, was once again in turmoil. Near the Surin cave, which is more than 200 miles away, suddenly there was a loud deer cry. young. This deer cry surpassed the cognition of the wolves. After hearing this huge deer cry, the herd of reindeer, one large and one small, on the territory began to gallop in one direction after a short pause. In addition to the reindeer herd, even the red deer herd and moose herd showed signs of rioting. It was only under the deterrence of the patrolling female wolf that the deer herd settled down. But the two herds of reindeer, no matter how deterred the female wolf was, it had no effect at all. This caused the female wolf to howl in a low voice, and the nearby wolves came to help. At present, almost all the wolf clans of the wolf group are in this area. The howling of wolves summoned one after another instantly caused the wolves in the nearby area to run wildly towards this side. After all, the rules of reward and punishment among wolves are so popular among wolves nowadays that all wolves want to make meritorious deeds, so that they can improve their status a little bit. Whether it's wolves or humans, when there are class stratifications, then naturally they all want to climb up desperately. Be wolf. This position is the dream of many members of the wolf pack. Because the second wolf in this large wolf pack is full of gold, it is far from comparable to the second wolf in the small wolf pack. At this moment, hundreds of wolves swarmed into the wolf pack. Wolf howls are often very penetrating. Now the cousin and Xiao Hui have extremely keen hearing. After hearing the howling of wolves, the cousin and Xiao Hui looked at each other, howled in a low voice, and rushed out with the wolves who stayed behind in the cave. At present, the wolves have entered the right track of development, and this is the time when the morale is high and the fighting spirit is in full swing. The clattering wolves were all running towards the area where the howling sound came from. But when they just reached this area, they suddenly felt a heavy pressure descending on them. The wolves with excellent eyesight quickly looked up and scanned, trying to find the source of this pressure. Soon, within a few seconds, there was a look of horror in their wolf eyes, because they saw that on the high snow slope, there was a huge reindeer with a size of 100 meters. This gigantic reindeer is looking down at the many wolves that have gathered. Under the soft sunlight, the huge antlers on the top of the head shone with sharp cold lights. The eyes of the reindeer are black and white, and the eyes are clear and bright. Facing the huge pack of wolves that quickly gathered, there was no panic in their eyes. If Dad Wolf was here, he would definitely be able to detect the smell of this huge reindeer. It was the powerful reindeer leader that he and Sulin had mentioned when the polar night had just receded. Father Wolf once led the entire pack of wolves to hunt, but was almost seriously injured by the reindeer leader. Later, he proposed to join forces with Surin to hunt reindeer together. It's just that the reindeer leader at that time mysteriously disappeared. But what was unexpected was that the reindeer leader, who had disappeared for several months, reappeared. At this time, Xiao Hui and cousin also brought the wolf clan left behind in the cave, and rushed over quickly. In the absence of the wolf king and the alpha wolf, as second wolves, they are naturally qualified to quell the turmoil in the wolf pack's territory. But when they arrived, looking at the size of this huge reindeer, a pair of wolf eyes flashed with an expression of incomparable shock. Is this a reindeer? Are there reindeer that big? Especially the huge antlers are longer than the tusks of a walrus. Under the habitual thinking, Xiao Wei and cousin have long forgotten that their boss, and little lone wolf, even the wolf father, wolf mother, and themselves, are existences beyond the peak of the Arctic wolf. They just felt that the size of the reindeer was too big, and the reindeer leader standing on the snow slope, behind him stood hundreds of reindeer confronting the wolves young. With the existence of a powerful deer king, many reindeer who could only tremble in the territory of wolves in the past, this time they were the first to make a magnificent cry. As the large and small reindeer herd merged in, the momentum of the reindeer herd behind the reindeer king suddenly rose to a higher level young. The herd's hooting sounded again. Under the compulsion of the sound of the deer, many wolves also began to howl again and again, wanting to increase the momentum of the wolves. All of a sudden, crisp deer cries and resonant howls of wolves resounded up and down in this area. In the cold North Pole, the deer king raised a tyrannical arrogance, looking down on all the wolves. It's just that as more and more wolves gathered, the daring of the wolves became bigger and bigger. Many wolves also got rid of the heavy pressure brought by the deer king, and began to howl step by step towards the herd of deer. In their eyes, reindeer have always been above the diet of wolves, but they are just the rations of wolves. Now if there is no such a huge reindeer king, the whole wolf pack may have already swarmed up, and killed these reindeer who dared to resist until blood flowed into rivers. Next, in a tense confrontation between the two sides, Xiaobai also led more than 10 bears here. More than a dozen bears appeared together. The oppressive and shocking force is very strong. This made the deer king standing on the snowy finally show a dignified look in his black and white eyes. Although it has obtained some adventures and its strength has been greatly improved, it has not been able to ignore such a pack of wolves. This pack of wolves is beyond its imagination, and it even has bear clan helpers. 200 or 300 wolves gathered together, and there were a dozen or so bears. This kind of strength can be called rampant across the North Pole. Even the Deer King felt a bit of pressure in the face of such a luxurious and majestic lineup. It's just a good thing the male and female at the head of this group of wolves are not too strong. In many cases, the leader of the wolf clan is not only responsible for directing the battle, but also responsible for the real final decision. Since the leading wolf tribe is not strong, it is not a threat to it at all. This made the Deer King scream, and led many reindeer under his command to charge out. Young. The huge deer cry exploded again. The herd of deer ran wild in an instant, and more than 100 reindeer ran wildly on the ice and snow, trampling the ice and snow in all directions, and the gathered 200 or 300 wolves also scattered around. Cousin, Xiao Wei and Xiao Bai, divided into left and right, chased and intercepted the herd of deer in 3 directions. The cooperative hunting of the wolves has already penetrated into their hearts. For hunting such a large herd of reindeer, the wolf clan has never been head-to-head, consuming, harassing, pinning down, dividing the battlefield, etc. After countless years of evolution, the tactics of the wolves on the hunting field have already matured. All of a sudden, the herd of deer and the pack of wolves intertwined and ran towards each other in this cold area. The wolves attack and harass the deer from time to time, trying to forcefully capture a few old, weak, sick and disabled in the deer herd as a restraint for the deer herd. But they fail. This group of reindeer followed the Deer King, and abandoned their timidity in the past. Pairs of black and white deer eyes are as brave as a musk ox. If at this time, you will definitely see a visual spectacle of chasing and hunting from the sky. Hundreds of wolves and hundreds of reindeer are running wildly on this snow-capped land. The howling of the wolves and the croaking of the deer intertwined and collided with each other. Among them, Xiao Hui searched for a long time, and finally found the right time. It looked at a female deer with only level 6 attributes on the outer edge, and ran away. Female deer are the main force in the birth of the deer herd. Generally speaking, it is most appropriate to use female deer and fawns as the restraint of the deer herd. And this female deer with a level 6 attribute is vulnerable, compared to Xiao Hui, who is about to reach the peak of level 7 ever. Xiao Hui's sharp wolf claws popped out completely from the fur. In the soft sunlight, it looks shining. Pung. While galloping, it hit the female wolf's neck fiercely with one claw, and directly knocked the female deer into a roll and flew backwards. And Xiao Hui was also kicked violently by several reindeer around him, kicking him out of the herd. But this tumbling female deer instantly destroyed the charge formation of the herd, especially on the neck of the female deer. The wanton splash of blood made the wolves' eyes full of bloodthirsty excitement. See blood, or delicious reindeer blood. This made the howling of wolves crazily sounded again. All. The stimulation of the smell of blood drove the wolves completely mad. Male wolves, not weak one after another, began to strike forward, pounced on the stag at the edge of the herd. At present, the male wolves in the wolf pack have not yet digested all the alien flesh and blood, but their strength has also made a lot of progress. Most adult male wolves have reached the peak strength of level 5, and even some with good growth potential have broken through to level 6. This kind of strength is not inferior to some reindeer. The powerful charge of the wolves caused the defense line of the reindeer group to collapse immediately. Tear. The sound of flesh being torn apart. Countless wolves swarmed up, causing the herd of deer, which had just gathered their momentum, to panic again. The surrounding adult reindeer were thrown down one by the wolves. No matter how turbulent the momentum was before the war, but they have always been used to eating grass, and the reindeer who have never experienced a battle will be thrown into chaos once they encounter a real fight. And what about the wolves? Natural group hunters. Not only will the smell of blood not make them panic, but it will stimulate them even more crazy. Young Deer King became angry instantly when he saw this scene. It began to show its full strength. The huge body turned around to help the deer herd out of the siege. The speed of the Reindeer King is extremely fast, at a speed of 50 to 60 meters per second, which makes ordinary wolves unable to react at all. Just when a level 6 male wolf had just pounced on a reindeer, and was about to kill the reindeer by locking its throat, the Reindeer King is like a flash of brown lightning, with a huge body as large as 30 meters. It arrives in the blink of an eye. Pung. As a different kind of Reindeer King, his limbs are much more flexible than ordinary reindeer. With a flying kick, the huge deer hoof kicked the flank of this level 6 male wolf. The tyrannical flying kick kicked the male wolf about 20 meters away, and all the wolves encountered along the way were knocked to pieces by the huge impact. Young. Accompanied by this tyrannical flying kick, The reindeer king let out another wild cry. The loud deer cry made the panicked deer gradually calm down. Many reindeer also regained some confidence when they saw the wolves, who were kicked by the deer king until they were alive and dead. Besides, with the tweet of the reindeer king also emitted streaks of black fluorescence, which spread quickly and directly covered the huge herd of deer. The fluorescence never flooded into the reindeer king's body, but spread out and poured into the bodies of these reindeer. This fluorescence also made the black and white deer pupils of hundreds of reindeer become extremely dark in an instant. The originally flustered expression disappeared completely, and even brought out a trace of bloodthirsty brutality and indomitable bravery. Even the antlers on the top of the head have become sharper and sharper. The aura of the whole deer herd suddenly rose by several chips. The wolves also felt the strength of the deer herd, but they couldn't understand why the deer herd suddenly became stronger with their IQ. There are even a few wolves who are eager to make contributions, and they are the first to dispatch, wanting to try it out. But as soon as he came near the reindeer herd, he was kicked back by the flying kicks of the surrounding bucks. There were also two wolves who were torn apart by the sharp antlers of the reindeer. But the reindeer, who were eating grass, smelled the smell, and even through the wolf's corpse off the antlers, the bloodthirsty joy was brought out in those extremely dark eyes, and they began to share the wolf meat. This scene made the whole pack of wolves panic. Even Xiao Bai and Xiao Hui, who are alien species and have high IQs, were a little shocked. What did the deer king do? What is that black light? Why did the reindeer, who was so flustered by the wolves hunting just now, turn into this bloodthirsty look in such an instant? It's just that no one will answer the questions in their hearts. Young, after quickly sharing the flesh and blood of the two wolves, the deer king let out another cry. The whole herd of deer also rioted in an instant, and began to charge towards the wolves on their own initiative. There is also a touch of ruthlessness in the deer king's black and white eyes. Originally, it just wanted to take its own race to the north, because it was there that I had an adventure. Although it is cold there is also a lot of moss. Those mosses are rich in energy and nutrition, which can better make the deer grow. But is this group of wolves really blind and want to hunt themselves? That being the case, don't blame yourself for leaving them a lesson. Who said that herbivores deserve to be eaten as blood? Who said that the counterattack of herbivores has always been weak? The reindeer king's eyes showed an extremely ferocious look, and he led the herd to launch a big counterattack. A pair of sharp antlers, shining faintly and coldly under the soft eyes. Pull! With one charge, the huge antlers pierced through a wolf clan that could reach level 5. With a sudden shake of his head, the wolf's body was instantly torn apart. Blood splattered wantonly, and the reindeer king directly bit a wolf who was rushing forward, and his thick teeth directly bit the back of the wolf into pieces. Then a deer leg stepped on the wolf's body, and that huge mouth bit off the wolf's head alive. Who said that herbivores can't eat meat? Blood splattered wantonly on the reindeer king's body, soaking his dark brown hair. Young. At this time, the reindeer herd crazily charged at the wolves again. Under the tremendous pressure, the wolves also began to change their strategies. Adopting the echelon tactics that can only be used in wars of attrition, it is no longer a swarm. A pack of wolves harassed and pinned the deer, hoping to consume their current wild charge. Xiaobai also led more than 10 bears to join the battle. The strength of the bear clan is extremely tyrannical, especially the bear clan, who had devoured the flesh and blood of different species. Their strength has also improved to a higher level. While waving the bear's paw, it also severely injured a reindeer. However, after being shrouded in the strange black light, the reindeer seemed to be brave and fearless. After being knocked down, it quickly got up and continued to charge and fight bloody for a while. The battlefield is extremely bloody. The sound of deer, wolf howl, bear roar, and blood splatter are intertwined over this cold area. The battle lasted for an hour or so, and the strong smell of blood permeated every corner of the area. Each of the wolves had more or less injuries, and even directly killed more than 30 reindeer. But the rest are still desperately resisting and charging. Young. With another loud deer cry, the whole reindeer group finally broke out of the wolves and Sir Clement. On the sharp horns of the giant reindeer king, another wolf clan was torn apart. During this period, Xiao Wei, cousin, Xiao Bai and several bears also fought with the reindeer king for a long time. It's just that this reindeer king is too strong. Even though several bears with thick blood and high defense were all deeply blood-stained by the reindeer king's sharp horns, at least half of the huge blood value was lost in this battle. There was even a polar bear killed in battle, and its huge bear's head was crushed by the hoof of the reindeer king. Now looking at the reindeer king rushing out, they also looked at each other again, and then rushed over bravely, trying to stop the reindeer king. It's just that everything is in vain. Peng, the tall reindeer king is like a colossus to Xiao Hui and his cousin. Just kick them twice, and fly them 20 or 30 meters away. Xiao Hui and his cousin were hit hard. Xiao Hui is better, as a heterogeneous species with strong vitality, even with such a severe injury. The internal organs in his body are almost shattered, but still stood up tenaciously. But the cousin's wolf body was twitching violently on the ice and snow, blood gushed out from the cousin's mouth. And the remaining Xiaobai and several bears were also rushed away by the reindeer king. Even a bear tribe was torn apart by the reindeer king. Blood flew into the sky. The reindeer king is too powerful. After it led the deer to charge out, it didn't stay too long. It was just that after trampling to death 1 or 2 wolves who dared to stop them, they led the deer away from this place, because the reindeer king knew that his talent time was about to expire. Once the deer herd lost their talent bonus, they would still be weak and fall into the siege of wolves again. So we must leave here as soon as possible and rush to the north. There is rich moss there, and after the strength of the deer herd increases greatly, it can bring the deer herd here again to avenge the hunt. But what the reindeer king didn't know was that the so-called leader of the wolf clan in its eyes is actually not the wolf king, but the second wolf in the wolf pack. If the real wolf king is here, I'm afraid not to mention the herd of deer, even if it wants to go. It is a luxury, and any wolf clan present at this time, looking at the deer rushing out of the encirclement, apart from resentment in the pair of wolf eyes, they all miss the wolf king and the wolf, because as long as there is either the wolf king or the alpha wolf, he will not allow this reindeer king to be so aggressive. The siege of the wolves was dispersed, and even though more than 30 reindeer were killed, the wolves paid a heavy price. The root of all this is that they are too weak. There is no wolf clan that can play a major role in restraining the reindeer king. Otherwise, this battle between the deer and the wolves would definitely not end like this. This is the first big defeat they have encountered in this area since they gathered together. All under this great defeat, countless wolves looked at the backs of the deer that had gradually gone away, and they all howled desolately, venting their depression and anger. They are not reconciled. Hundreds of reindeer. How long is the ration of wolves? Yuchi was seriously injured, and killed 20 or 30 companions in battle. This is a blood feud. A wolf pack of their promise was defeated, and surrounded by a group of herbivores, defeated by the prey that could only tremble under the majesty of wolves. Before, this makes every wolf clan feel extremely shameful. And Xiao Hui looked at her cousin, who was spitting blood on the ice and snow ground, and screamed in panic. Tears flowed from a pair of wolf eyes. The violent impact that Xiao Hui received was not weaker than that of her cousin. Her internal organs were shattered, and strands of blood flowed out from the corner of Xiao Hui's mouth. It's just that the tenacious vitality of the alien species is still supporting it, but for such a serious injury, it will take at least half a year of rest to recover if only relying on support. But at this moment, Xiao Hui didn't care about her injuries, and just looked at her cousin with concern. In Xiao Hui's mind, besides his own boss, the most important thing is the wolf father, wolf mother and cousin. It hated itself for not being as powerful as the little lone wolf, for not being able to kill the reindeer king, and for not being able to save its cousin. Drops of tears fell from the wolf's fur, and the desolate and mournful wolf howl sounded again, calling for the wolf king. Boss, where are you? My cousin is dying. Hey, my cousin actually misses you very much, so come and see her.
Thank you for watching Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share and subscribe. Have a great day.